You've been carrying too much. Too many thoughts, too many worries, too many expectations. They told you to stay strong, to keep going, to just be positive. But no one told you how heavy life can feel when your heart is tired and your mind won't stop racing. You try to rest, but the silence gets loud. You try to sleep, but your thoughts keep spinning. You smile during the day, but deep down you feel overwhelmed, like you, 39, re-holding your breath underwater. The truth is, you don't need more pressure. You don't need to fix everything tonight. What you need is comfort. A kind voice that says, you're allowed to feel tired. A soft space to land when life feels too much. And ancient wisdom that holds you not with rules, but with relief. Because the teachings you're about to hear, they aren't loud. They don't shout or demand. They soothe. They whisper peace to your nervous system. They remind your soul that even in chaos, you can still be calm. Even in exhaustion, you can still feel held. Even in the dark, there is still light. This isn't just something to help you fall asleep. This is something that helps you let go of the fear, of the tension, of the noise that's been living in your chest. So breathe. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have it all figured out. Right now, all you need to do is listen, because comfort is coming, peace is on its way. And tonight, something inside you is going to shift. Are you ready? Let's begin. Sometimes, the heaviest thing we carry is the belief that we have to hold it all together, that if we don't, think about the problem, it will get worse, that if we don't control every detail, something will fall apart. This way of living becomes a silent weight, the kind no one sees but you feel every second. Letting go isn't about giving up. It's not about becoming passive or uncaring. Letting go is an act of trust. Not in others, not even in the world, but in the moment itself. It's the moment you decide that your mind doesn't need to be on full alert while your heart begs for rest. The breath teaches this better than words ever could. Every inhale is a gathering. Every exhale is a datation. Release. And yet, most people live their lives only half-breathing. Breathing in tension, holding it, storing it in their shoulders, their neck, their gut, but never fully letting it leave. Tonight, that pattern starts to shift. If you've ever noticed how your body tenses when you, 39, re-deep in thought, how your jaw clenches or your fists close when stress builds, then you've already met the signals. These are your cues. Your body speaks through them. It's asking you to let go, not with words, but with breath. Take a moment now, without changing anything. Just notice your breathing. Don't fix it. Don't make it deeper. Just feel it. Is it shallow? Is it tight? Does it pause in the middle as if unsure whether to keep going? That hesitation you feel, that's the moment you can change everything. When you exhale with intention, you send a message to your nervous system. I am safe. I don't need to brace. I don't need to defend. The muscles that tighten during the day, the ones that protect you, guard you, help you push through, it's okay for them to soften now. Releasing isn't loud. It's not a breakdown. It's quiet. It's the way leaves fall without resistance. It's the way rivers don't argue with rocks, they flow around them. Letting go emotionally is like that. It doesn't require drama. It requires honesty. There's an exercise used in certain mindfulness practices called softening around the emotion. The idea is simple but powerful. Instead of resisting what you feel, fear, sadness, frustration, you notice it. You Sit beside it like you would sit beside a tired friend. You breathe, and you say inwardly, "It's okay for this to be here, and it's okay for it to go." We're taught to push pain away, distract, escape, numb. But what if your pain isn't a problem to solve, but a signal that something in you is ready to be released, not fixed, not solved, just released? Breath is how we begin. Inhale, feel the tension rise like a wave. Exhale, feel it leave like mist. This is not performance. There's no perfect way to do it. If your breath is shaky, that's okay. If it's shallow, that's okay too. What matters is your awareness. The decision to stay present instead of collapsing into thought spirals. Throughout the day, we build up micro moments of stress, tiny things. An email that annoyed you, a conversation that didn't go right, a look someone gave you that made you feel small. These moments don't disappear. They collect, like dust on a shelf, and at night they often rise back to the surface. The body remembers what the mind tries to forget. That's why this practice matters. Each breath is a quiet clearing. Each exhale a broom sweeping the broom, 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 sweeping the brooms. Nervous system. You may not notice change instantly, but something deep within you will. If emotions come up as you do this, let them. That's not weakness, that's truth. Sometimes we need to feel in order to finally be free. There's a technique called noting in Vipassana meditation. You observe what arises in the mind and label it softly: worry, tension, planning, regret. You notice it, and then you return to the breath. No judgment, no getting pulled in, just labeling, observing, releasing. Why does this help? Because the mind craves stories. It wants to dive into the narrative of your emotions. But when you label them instead of feeding them, you step outside the loop. You begin to separate your sense of self from the chaos. You become the observer, not the reactor. That's letting go, not by force, but by awareness. Another layer of emotional release happens when you stop trying to manage the outcome of things. So much of our stress comes from clinging to how things should go, how people should behave, how our life should unfold. But clinging turns breath into tension. It hardens the body. It keeps you in a constant low-grade fight mode. The practice here is not easy, but it's powerful. Drop the should, embrace what is. That doesn't mean you give up on growth. It means you stop resisting reality. When you accept what is, here, in this moment, you reclaim your power. That resistance, this shouldn't be happening, that's the real source of pain. The moment you let that go, even just for a breath, you feel space. You feel peace. Letting go also means releasing the role you think you have to play. The strong one, the responsible one, the one who keeps everything together. Who says you can't rest? Who says you can't cry? Who says you have to figure it all out before your head hits the pillow? You don't. There is something deeply healing about being honest with yourself, especially before sleep, saying, "I'm overwhelmed. I'm tired." And that's okay. That honesty makes space. And in that space, healing begins. We often believe that if we don't keep thinking about something, we'll lose control. But thinking isn't the same as solving. And control is not the same as peace. Letting go isn't forgetting. It's not pretending you don't care. It's saying, this thought, this worry, this pain, it's real, but I don't need to carry it through the night. Release doesn't mean you erase your past. It means you stop dragging it into your present. Sleep is the body's way of resetting, but if your mind is still sprinting when your eyes close, that reset can't begin. That's why emotional release before bed is not a luxury, it's necessary. Try this tonight. Before bed, put your hand on your heart. Not to force comfort, but to reconnect. Feel the rise and fall, the quiet drum that's been beating all day without thanks. Then say, gently, inside yourself, you've done enough for today. Let go now. Not because everything is fixed, not because you figured it all out, but because you deserve peace, even in the middle of the unknown. Especially in the middle of the unknown. Letting go isn't one big act. It's a collection of small choices. Each breath, each moment you don't chase. The thought, each second you say, I can rest now. When you begin to treat rest as sacred, your body listens, your mind follows. Not immediately, but eventually. Over time, sleep becomes not just a physical act, but an emotional release, a ritual, a return. You may find, as you continue this practice, that your dreams change, that your mornings feel lighter, not because your life became easier, but because you stopped gripping it so tightly. Letting go gives life back to you, breath by breath. So tonight, instead of trying harder to sleep, try softer. Instead of reaching for control, reach for presence. Let your body be the guide. Let your breath be the anchor. Let your awareness be the gentle hand that says, you don't need to hold everything right now. There is a part of you that already knows how to release. It's the part that sighs when you see a sunset. The part that softens when someone says, it's okay, I've got you. That part still lives in you. It always has. You don't need permission to let go, but in case you've been waiting for it, here it is. You're allowed to stop. You're allowed to breathe. You're allowed to exhale not just air, but the weight you've been carrying. Let tonight be the night you don't fall asleep with clenched fists. Let it be the night your body learns that rest is not weakness, but wisdom. Not because everything is okay, but because you are still here, still breathing, still worthy of comfort. Let go now. Not all at once, not perfectly. Just one breath at a time. And once you've softened enough to let go, really let go, you'll notice something begins to shift. The weight doesn't disappear overnight. The noise doesn't vanish instantly, but the way you hold it changes. Lighter, gentler, more alive. There's something beautiful about what comes next. Not silence, not blankness, but presence. The kind that turns ordinary moments into sacred ones. And when you approach sleep not as an escape, but as an offering, something sacred starts to bloom. Because your bed isn't just a place to rest your head, it can be more. It can become a space where healing begins. A place where you return to yourself, not to perform, not to achieve, not to impress, but simply to be. What if every night wasn't just the end of a day, but the beginning of something meaningful? Something slow, something holy. That's what happens when your pillow becomes your altar. Sacredness isn't about incense or chants or elaborate rituals. It's about intention. It's about how you treat the moment. And sleep, the most intimate part of your daily cycle, deserves more than just a rushed collapse into unconsciousness. It deserves your attention, your care, your respect. In Buddhist temples, there's rhythm, not the loud kind, the steady kind, gentle bells, soft footfalls, chants that aren't meant to be impressive, but grounding. That rhythm isn't for show. It exists to remind the body and mind to return to simplicity, to presence, to peace. You can borrow that rhythm. You can bring it into your bedroom, into your breath. Think of how you usually prepare for sleep. Is it fast, distracted? Do you check your phone until your eyes blur? Do you carry the day into your bed with emails, texts, unfinished thoughts? Most people do. Most people sleep with tension still clinging to them like dust they forgot to shake off. But there's another way. Start by creating an ending, not just for your tasks, but for your energy. A true closing. Not everything needs to be resolved before bed, but everything needs to be released. That's what rituals help with. They aren't rules, they're containers. They hold space so your mind doesn't have to. Try this. Choose one small act to repeat every night. Not because you have to, but because your body craves rhythm. Maybe it's lighting a candle, washing your face slowly, touching your bedsheets with awareness instead of distraction. That small act is not random, it becomes your bell, your signal that the day is done and something quieter begins. What matters most is that you slow down, not for the sake of slowness, but to feel what's really there. A ritual works when it helps you return to yourself, when it reminds you that this moment matters not for productivity, but for presence. This isn't a performance. You're not trying to be spiritual. You're being honest. You're giving the body what it truly wants at the end of the day. Peace, stillness, release. Not through force, but through attention. Buddhist monks rise early, chant softly, walk with intention. But it's not the act that's sacred. It's how they do it, with presence, with humility, with reverence. For now, you can treat your bedtime with the same reverence. You don't need to change your whole life, just how you show up for this moment. Even something as small as fluffing your pillow becomes meaningful when done with care. It's no longer just a routine, it becomes preparation, a soft ceremony. You're not just getting ready to sleep, you're creating space for your mind to land. Think of your pillow as more than fabric. Think of it as a witness. It's been there through everything. The late nights, the tearful ones, the joyful ones. It holds the shape of your head like an old friend who knows how to hold space without asking questions. Rest becomes sacred when you treat it like something that matters. Not because you earned it, not because you did enough, but because being alive is reason enough. In Buddhist teachings, the temple is not just a building, it's any place where truth is honored. That means your bed can be your temple, not through perfection, but through presence. You don't need silence to feel sacred. You need sincerity. That's the difference between collapsing into bed and arriving in bed. One is escape, the other is connection. Let your body sink, not out of exhaustion, but out of safety. Let the mattress receive you like the ground receives the rain without resistance. Let the night hold you without expectation. There's a phrase used in meditation, arriving fully, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually. You can do that each night. Pause before you lie down. Place your hand on your chest. Feel the beating heart. Let that be your temple bell. No one else needs to understand your ritual. It's not for them. It's for you. For the part of you that's tired of rushing. For the part of you that's carried too much. For the part of you that forgot what it feels like to be gently held. Some people think rituals are old-fashioned, but rituals are how we make sense of the passing of time. Without them, the days blur. With them, we mark transition. We create space. We allow transformation. And transformation doesn't always look like change. Sometimes it just looks like deeper noticing. Like waking up with less tension in your jaw, less weight in your chest, You can end each day the way monks end their evening chantno, with a grand finale, but with a whisper, a soft return to breath, a nod to impermanence, a quiet thank you to the day, even if it wasn't perfect, especially if it wasn't. Even brushing your teeth can become a ritual if done with awareness, noticing the sensations, the temperature of the water, the way your feet feel on the floor. Every ordinary moment holds the precious potential for depth if you let it. That's what makes the pillow an altar, not the object, the intention, the way you arrive, the way you surrender. This is where you meet yourself without distraction, without roles, without the armor you wear during the day. Here, there's no audience, no performance, just breath, just rest, just you. Some nights you may feel resistance. The mind may not want to slow down. That's okay. Don't fight it. Let the ritual carry you. Let it hold you the way rhythm holds a chant, steady, calm, patient. This is where you learn the art of trust. Trust that you don't need to carry the entire world into your dreams. Trust that your body knows what it's doing. Trust that silence is not empty. It's full of healing. Create a phrase that belongs only to you, a mantra for your night. It doesn't need to be poetic. It just needs to feel honest. Something like, I return to myself now, or it's safe to rest. Let it be simple. Let it be real. Repeat it with your breath. Let it anchor you. The brain loves rhythm. It responds to repetition. That's why rituals work. They're not magic, they're memory. The body begins to associate the pattern with safety. Over time, your system learns. This is when we let go. This is when we rest. If you light a candle, let it mean something, not just for scent or ambiance. Let it be your reminder. Light still exists, even in darkness. Let it signal a shift, from effort to ease, from thought to presence. You don't need an entire ceremony, you just need consistency. That one moment each night that says, I honor this space, I honor my need to stop, I honor the silence as much as I honored the noise. When the lights go out, let that be a blessing. Let darkness become your cloak, not your fear. A space where nothing is asked of you except to simply be. The more you return to this nightly rhythm, the more it becomes your teacher. It shows you what matters, what doesn't, what needs to be carried, what can be put down. Ritual does not promise perfection. It promises presence. And presence, when repeated over time, becomes healing. No one can do this part for you, but once you begin, you'll realize it's not effort, it's nourishment. It's the meal your soul's been asking for. So tonight, when you prepare for sleep, prepare with care, not with urgency, but with reverence. Even if the day was hard, even if your mind is cluttered, let the act of laying down become a sacred return. Let your pillow hold more than your head. Let it hold your release. Let it hold your trust. Let it hold every silent thank you that you were too busy to say during the day. This is not the end of the story, just the soft pause between chapters. And how you pause changes everything. Close your eyes, not as escape, but as arrival. Let this be your rhythm. Let this be your altar. Let this be your night. And once the rhythm is set, once the night begins to wrap around you like a soft vow, you realize something else waiting beneath the stillness, beneath the breath, beneath the ritual. A quiet question that stirs in the dark. Who are you when there's nothing left to hold? When there's no schedule, no mirror, no name being called, what remains? Not as a crisis, but as a gentle wondering, a soft loosening of everything you thought you had to be. Because some of the weight you carry isn't from tasks, it's from identity. And now, in the silence of midnight, it, 39's, finally safe. To explore what happens when you let go of even that. Every day you wear names, roles, stories. Some are chosen, some handed to you, some were whispered into you before you knew you had a choice. You wear them like skin mother, leader, partner, fixer, quiet one, strong one, anxious one. You live inside them, build your habits around them, define your worth by them, and then you go to sleep wondering why you still feel so heavy. It's not your fault. The world trains us to be someone, to have a label, a category, a status. But those identities, helpful as they can be during the day, aren't always meant to follow us into the night, especially when you're trying to rest. Because underneath all the labels, there's something simpler, something clearer, something untouched by pressure, expectation, or comparison, that something is not a thing at all. It has no name, no brand, no backstory. Buddhist teachings call it anatta, no self, not meaning you are nothing, but meaning you are not what you cling to. You are not your thoughts, you are not your habits, you are not your past. At midnight, that truth becomes more accessible, not because the concept gets easier, but because the silence creates space, the noise fades, the external world stops asking things from you. And for a moment, there's a doorway into something softer than ego. When you rest your head on the pillow and let go of your roles, you don't disappear, you return to something more true, something that was always there underneath the doing, the proving, the shaping. This is not philosophy for the sake of thinking. It's practice. It's about rest, deep rest, the kind that doesn't just soothe the body, but frees the mind from its masks. At night, there is no one to impress, no one to convince, no spotlight to stand under. The thoughts may still try to rehearse the day, but you don't have to follow. You don't have to identify with every thought that passes through. This is what the no-self offers, relief from the inner narrator, the one that says, I am not enough, or I should be more. The one that replays arguments, the one that chases validation. All of that relies on the story of self. And while stories can be useful, they can also become prisons. Freedom begins when you realize you can watch the thoughts without being the thoughts. You can feel emotion without becoming the emotion. You can experience tiredness without turning it into failure. Thoughts will say, I am anxious, but you can reframe it to, anxiety is present. Thoughts will say, I am failing, but you can soften it to, struggle is arising. You are not the storm, you are the sky. This small shift, done regularly, unhooks the mind from clinging. It doesn't erase difficulty, but it removes the stickiness. It allows rest, and it opens a kind of peace that isn't based on external calm, but internal spaciousness. Let's make this even simpler. Before sleep, when you notice a thought arrive, pause, don't follow it. Don't push it away either, just name it gently. Judgment, memory, planning. Say it without attachment. Then return to breath. This isn't a mental trick, it's a form of untangling. You don't have to be anyone while you sleep. Not a good person, not a success story, not the one who's always strong. The bed does not require an identity to support your body. The night does not ask you for credentials. Rest becomes deeper when the self becomes softer. The pain of being human often comes from gripping too tightly to an idea of who we're supposed to be. That grip creates resistance, Resistance creates tension, and tension steals rest. If you can loosen that grip, even just a little, you create space for something different, not emptiness, but fullness without burden, a presence without pressure. You are not erasing yourself, you are unbinding yourself. In some meditative traditions, teachers say, let go of the meditator, meaning don't even identify as someone who's doing it right. Let go of even that effort. Just be awareness, just be breath. This teaching is powerful before sleep, because the deeper you try to rest, the more identity can sneak in. I should be more peaceful. I'm not relaxed enough. Why can't I shut my brain off? These are identities, disguised as thoughts. You don't have to believe them. You don't have to fix them. You can notice, release, and rest. The silence of night is fertile ground for these insights. You don't need special training. You just need to stay. Stay with the breath. Stay with the presence behind the performance. Every label you carry becomes quiet when you don't feed it with attention. You are not removing value from your life by releasing identity. You are uncovering the peace that identity sometimes blocks. And when that peace is felt, truly felt, it changes your relationship to everything. Not all at once, but slowly. You stop chasing rest. It starts arriving on its own, because you're no longer defending a self that needs constant validation. Even the idea of being a good sleeper can become an identity, and with it, pressure. Pressure brings tension. So let go of the need to be anything, even someone who lets go well. Instead of asking, who am I? Try asking, what is here when I stop needing to be anything? Not for analysis, just for rest, just for release. At first, it may feel like a blank space, but if you stay with it, you'll sense something deeper, a kind of quiet presence, a hum behind the noise. It doesn't need to be named, it just is. The body relaxes when it isn't trying to protect an idea. The mind softens when it isn't chasing a role. Sleep deepens when identity is no longer driving the moment. You may feel fear as you loosen these ideas. That's normal. The ego doesn't like to be quiet. But you're not trying to kill it. You're just letting it rest too. Like a worker who's been on the clock too long. Give it the night off. Let the deeper part of you hold the space now. There's a kind of comfort that comes from knowing you don't have to be someone all the time. You just have to be. That's enough. That's always been enough. Thoughts may still rise. Roles may try to reattach. That's okay. Keep practicing. The repetition builds a new rhythm, a new reflex. Over time, the release becomes easier, not because you forced it, but because you remembered how. Buddhist monks often sleep in complete stillness, not because they're better, but because they've practiced surrender. The same surrender is available to you, not through effort, but through allowing. You don't have to remove thoughts, just stop owning them. You don't have to stop emotions, just stop labeling them mine. Watch them pass like clouds. Be the sky. This is what it means to dissolve identity gently, not erase yourself, but stop gripping so tightly to the poor story. Let the story fade for the night. Let the breath take over. You are safe without your roles. You are worthy without your titles. You are whole without your narratives. Let the night hold what you no longer need to carry. Let rest wash over what no longer needs to be named. You are not the noise. You are the awareness underneath. You are not the mask. You are the presence, watching it come and go. And now that you know this, sleep is not just rest. It becomes a return to stillness, to spaciousness, to self without self. Let go now, not just of your thoughts, but of the one who thinks them. Let the mind melt into the night. Let the breath carry what remains. Let the silence be enough. Because it is, and you are, without trying, without effort, without identity. Only peace now. Only presence. Only this. When you no longer cling to identity, when the story loosens its grip and the masks begin to rest, something unexpected rises in the quiet. You meet what's underneath, the soft, worn-out core of yourself that's been trying so hard to be enough. It doesn't ask for understanding. It doesn't need fixing. What it needs is kindness, not from the world, from you. Because after all the effort to hold it together, to perform, to strive, to cope, the part of you that has carried it all is tired. And not just tired in the body, tired in the spirit. This is the moment when compassion becomes not just helpful, but essential. There is a teaching in the Buddhist tradition called metta. It means loving kindness, a deep, sincere wish for well-being, both for yourself and others. But in moments of exhaustion, most people forget the first part. They remember how to give kindness to the world, but not how to offer it inward. When you are worn out, you don't need more pressure. You don't need better routines or louder motivation. You need care, not performance, not strategy, just presence with warmth. And that starts with meeting yourself as you are, not as you wish you were. Mental fatigue has a way of distorting reality. It makes you think your thoughts are truths. It makes you believe that being tired is the same as being broken, but that isn't real. Being overwhelmed doesn't mean you've failed. It means you've reached the edge of your current resources, and that edge is not your fault. The antidote to this isn't to try harder, it's to respond differently, with gentleness instead of judgment, with acceptance instead of blame. You do not motivate a tired soul by yelling at it. You meet it like you would meet a child who's been crying for hours, not with force, with kindness, with steady hands and quiet understanding. Loving kindness begins with the decision to stop fighting yourself, even when you don't feel strong, even when you feel like you don't deserve softness. That's often when you need it most. Metta is not a reward for perfection. It's a practice for the imperfect. You begin simply, in silence, in stillness, not with loud declarations, but with the smallest whisper inside. May I be at ease. May I find peace. May I let go of harshness. You don't have to believe the words yet. You just need to speak them quietly and sincerely. Let them echo in the background of your breath. You can place a hand on your chest or your belly if it helps bring you closer to presence. Feel the warmth there, the rhythm. The body still working for you, even when your mind feels lost. This is not an affirmation exercise. It's not about forcing positivity. It's about reconnecting to the quiet truth that you are worthy of kindness simply because you exist. Metta grows with repetition. Like a seed watered each night, you offer it not because you feel loving, but because the offering itself creates warmth. You can say to yourself, I see your pain. I see your weariness, and I'm here, not to fix, just to stay. That staying is the medicine. When you stay with yourself, without judgment, something in you begins to soften. The tight places loosen. The inner critic becomes quieter. You learn to hold your experience instead of escaping it. You stop asking, what's wrong with me? And begin asking, what do I need right now? Most of the time, what you need is not complicated. Rest, comfort, slowness, and space to not be okay. without being made wrong for it. Metta doesn't erase pain, it changes your relationship to it. Instead of pain becoming proof that you've failed, it becomes a signal to pause and offer support. When you extend kindness to yourself, you begin to repair the part of you that thinks love must be earned. You remind yourself that worthiness is not a transaction, it's the ground you're already standing on. In the face of mental fatigue, loving kindness is not indulgence, it's resilience. It is what allows you to rest without guilt, to stop without shame, to heal without apology. There's a quiet strength in being able to say, I am doing the best I can, even if the best looks like barely holding on, even if the best is messy, even if the best is simply getting through the next breath. In Buddhist practice, the phrases of metta are repeated with calm attention. May I be safe, may I be well, may I be peaceful, may I live with ease. These aren't magic words, they are reminders, anchors. They speak directly to the nervous system, calming the places that feel chaotic, overwhelmed, or unloved. Mental fatigue makes the world feel sharp. Thoughts race, emotions blur. But loving kindness offers a soft edge. It reminds you that you don't have to be your energy level. You don't have to become your burnout. You are still you beneath it, whole, intact, worthy. Practicing this doesn't require silence. It doesn't need a meditation cushion or perfect posture. You can do it lying down, with eyes heavy and breath uneven. The only requirement is willingness. A willingness to be with yourself, gently, without pushing. Even one moment of true kindness can begin to reset the system, one breath paired with a sincere phrase. You can say it out loud or just think it. May I allow myself to rest? May I let this be enough? Over time, you begin to feel the difference. The same exhaustion feels lighter. The same thoughts feel less convincing, because you're not adding the weight of self-judgment on top of them. Compassion isn't passive, it's powerful. It's what allows you to move through difficulty without breaking. It's what brings steadiness when everything else feels uncertain. There may be nights when you forget to practice, nights when the fatigue feels louder than the kindness. That's okay too. Metta is not a scorecard, it's an invitation. One that is always open, no matter how many times you miss it. The more often you offer loving kindness to yourself, the more natural it becomes, like a muscle that grows through use. You may even begin to feel it spread outward, toward others, toward strangers. But it always starts with you, not out of selfishness, out of balance. You cannot pour compassion into the world if your own well is dry. You cannot give freely when you withhold care from yourself. So let the practice begin with your own weariness, your own need, not because it's perfect timing, but because it's the honest truth. Loving kindness for the worn-out self looks like permission, permission to rest without earning it, permission to say no without guilt, permission to feel without fixing, permission to be held by your own awareness. You do not have to wait for someone else to offer this to you. You can be the one who says, "You're allowed to stop now. You've done enough. You are enough, right here as you are." This is not sentiment. It is practice, deep, steady, grounded, repeated night after night, until the mind learns to receive it and the body believes it. Even when everything feels tight, there is a part of you that can soften. Even when the day has emptied you, there is a voice inside that can still say, "I am with you, even now." You are not a project, you are a being, a human being, who feels, who breaks, who heals, who tries. And trying alone is worthy of tenderness. May the rest you offer yourself tonight come without conditions. May the breath you take now remind you that you belong. May the quiet you feel in your chest be a sanctuary you can return to any time. And even if your thoughts resist, even if your emotions feel tangled, keep returning, keep offering, keep softening, not for performance, for peace. This is metta. This is loving kindness. This is your medicine. You've tried pushing, you've tried proving, you've tried pretending everything was fine. Now try love, quietly, steadily, deeply, especially when you feel like you don't deserve it. Because that is when it matters most, and that is when it begins to heal. And once you've offered kindness to the parts of yourself that feel worn and overused, a new kind of silence enters. Not the kind that feels lonely, the kind that feels like space that opens up after judgment softens, after pressure loosens. And in that space, the mind finally starts to settle. But even in peace, thoughts don't disappear. They drift in, they linger, they repeat. That doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. It means you're still human. The question is not how to stop them. The question is how to meet them differently. Thoughts are not problems unless we hold them too tightly. Thoughts become heavy when we believe they define who we are or demand our attention. But thoughts, at their core, are just movements, passing currents, temporary flickers of mental activity. They don't need to be controlled. They need to be seen for what they are, fleeting. This is where visualization can become a powerful ally, not as distraction, but as a soft tool for release. In Vipassana practice, there is a visualization often used to help people unhook from thought patterns that loop endlessly. It is the image of a stream, calm, steady, continuous, and on the surface of that stream are leaves, light, drifting, carried by the current. Each leaf holds a thought. You don't choose which thought appears. You don't control the stream. You just observe. You place the thought gently on the leaf and watch it go, one after another. No rush, no force, just quiet noticing. This practice is not a trick to stop thinking. It's a way to stop clinging, to stop chasing the thought down the river, trying to change it or solve it, to stop judging the thought for being there. You stop assigning meaning to every mental interruption, and instead you begin to watch. Thoughts about the day will rise, memories will surface, worries about tomorrow may appear. That's okay. They each get a leaf. You don't analyze, you don't react, you place, and you release. Some thoughts will return quickly. That's not failure. That's the nature of the mind. Each time they come, you place them again, as often as needed. The repetition is not a problem. It's the practice. Each return to the stream is a moment of awareness. Each leaf released is a moment of freedom. This visualization works especially well before sleep because it mirrors what the nervous system already wants: to slow down, to unclench, to shift from holding to letting. And when your attention becomes the observer instead of the participant, rest comes more easily. There's no need to create elaborate imagery. Keep it simple. Feel the breath first. Let it settle into a natural rhythm. Then gently turn your awareness to the image. A soft stream, clear water, slow movement. The environment doesn't need detail, just enough for your attention to rest on it without stimulation. Every thought that tries to pull you back into planning or remembering, place it on the leaf, gently. Then, bring your focus back to the space around the stream, the quiet flow, the peace in movement without urgency. This technique is not about removing content from your mind. It's about shifting your relationship to the content, from being the thinker to being the watcher, from being the actor in the story to being the one, turning the pages. Some nights, certain thoughts will feel sticky. You'll notice resistance to letting them go, maybe because they feel unfinished or because they're charged with emotion. In these moments, breathe deeper. Offer the thought the same space as the others. Treat it no differently. Give it the same leaf, the same chance to move on. If emotion arises, allow it to stay as sensation. You don't have to label it. You don't need to fix it. You don't need to narrate it. The stream can carry emotion too, not by getting rid of it, but by giving it motion. The stream itself becomes a kind of metaphor for how awareness works. Always moving, always receptive, never pushing anything away, never chasing anything down. The mind doesn't need to be empty to rest. It just needs to be less involved, less entangled, more like the current than the cargo. Let the stream carry even your identity, for a while, the idea of who you are, what you need to do, what you think you're supposed to be. Place it gently on a leaf and watch it drift. Just for now. You can pick it back up tomorrow, if needed. But for tonight, you are more than the sum of your thoughts. You are the space they pass through. Over time, the practice creates a buffer, a gentle pause between the thought and your reaction. This pause is where freedom grows, where rest becomes available, not just as an idea, but as an experience. When the stream becomes steady in your mind, your nervous system begins to follow. The breath slows, the heart rate settles, muscles release tension without instruction, because the mind no longer signals alertness. It signals ease. Some thoughts may try to disguise themselves as urgent. The mind will tell you that this one needs solving right now. You will feel the urge to get involved, to think it through. This is where the practice strengthens. You recognize the urgency as just another thought. It too goes on a leaf. It too drifts. There's no finish line to this, no moment when you've won. The practice is circular, like the breath. Like the stream, you keep returning, you keep watching, you keep releasing. Each time you build trust in your ability to let go. Even 5 minutes of this can change the tone of your night. Even one breath of true witnessing can reset your system. There is no minimum, no requirement. The effort is not in achieving, but in allowing. This isn't escapism. It's presence. Presence with softness, with space, with perspective. You don't float above your mind. You float with it, side by side, aware, calm, detached. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means no longer gripping. And as thoughts float away, they lose. Their sharpness, their intensity fades. You stop defining yourself by them. You stop giving them all your energy. They become what they are, temporary. Sleep is not just for the body, it's for the psyche, for the deeper parts of you that don't need more stimulation, but less. Not less thought, less attachment to thought. The stream can carry everything, even your plans, even your doubts, even your deepest confessions. It doesn't judge, it doesn't hold, it moves. That movement is what sets you free. No matter how busy the mind has been today, this moment is a chance to shift. You don't have to fix what was stirred up. You don't have to finish the loop. You can meet it all with this practice, with this image, with this release. The mind is not your enemy. It's just noisy. The stream doesn't fight the leaves. It welcomes them and keeps moving. So can you. There will always be more thoughts. The stream doesn't need them to stop. It only needs your awareness to change, from holding to placing, from clinging to watching. And as you drift further into stillness, the stream will carry your thoughts even before you name them. The habit will build. The current will strengthen. You will begin to feel a gap between what you think and who you are. That gap is peace. Let the practice continue, even if your focus drifts, even if sleep begins to blur the edges. Let that be part of it. The mind will soften, the breath will slow, thought will become light, and when rest finally takes over, it will feel earned, not through effort, but through surrender. No need to force anything, no need to control the pace. The stream flows on its own. All you have to do is trust its rhythm, trust its way, trust that it knows how to hold what you no longer need to carry. Let go now. Let the leaf take the weight. Let the current carry the noise. Let sleep arrive, not as a command, but as a gentle result of having released the mind from its grip. You've thought enough. You've held enough. Now it's time to drift, soft, light, clear, resting as the sky, while your thoughts float by. And in that stillness, everything begins to change. When the thoughts begin to drift downstream and the current carries them gently out of reach, what remains is often something quieter but heavier. Beneath the clutter of what-ifs and endless planning, there, 39, the subtle ache of regret. Not loud, not dramatic, just a soft pull in the chest, a feeling that something today could have gone differently. A word you wish you hadn't said, a choice you wish you could take back. That quiet loop replaying moments you cannot edit. It's not just the mind thinking anymore, it's the heart reviewing. And while it may seem like reflection, it's often repetition dressed in guilt. The mind tries to make sense of things. The heart tries to change what's already finished. And between the two, rest becomes harder to reach. This is where the practice shifts again, not from letting go of thoughts, but from letting go of judgment about the past. There is a teaching in Buddhist thought that offers a way through this weight. It says each moment is a new life, a rebirth, not in theory, but in direct experience. The person who made the mistake this morning is not the same one lying in bed now. That version of you is gone, changed, evolved. Whether slightly or fully, you are not frozen in time. And the truth is, neither are your actions. Karma is often misunderstood. It's not punishment. It's not a system of spiritual debt. It's cause and effect. Energy shaping energy. And when understood clearly, it becomes incredibly freeing, because what you do next matters more than what you've done already. The next breath holds more power than the last word spoken. When you lie down at night, your body already knows how to release. Muscles soften, joints loosen. But emotionally, the release takes intention. That intention begins by recognizing that regret is not a sign of failure. It's proof that you care. It shows you've grown enough to wish things had been done with more kindness, clarity, or strength. But growth is not served by guilt. Reflection helps only when it's paired with compassion. So you meet the regret not with punishment, but with understanding. You say to yourself, I see the moment I wish I could redo. I honor the feeling it brings. And now I release it. Not because it wasn't real, but because holding it longer will not make it better. This is not avoidance, it's wisdom, because dwelling doesn't heal, presence does. The cycle of karma, when seen clearly, gives you permission to start fresh with every breath. It allows space between moments. It says you are not the mistake. You are the awareness learning from it. Letting go of regret means giving yourself back your own energy. Energy that gets stuck when you loop inside memory. That energy could be used for repair if needed, for change if possible, for rest always. Some nights the mind will insist that today's actions define you, that your worth is tied to how perfect your behavior was. But that's not truth. That's fear wearing a mask of responsibility. True responsibility says, I learn, and then I move forward. I grow, and then I rest. I stumble, and then I rise again, not by force, but through release. To let go of regret is to trust that you are a process, not a product, that your life unfolds in chapters, that each page is meant to turn, no matter how it was written. Some pages will be messy, some will be graceful. All of them matter, but none of them define the whole book. This practice begins with breath. As always, it returns to breath. The breath you're taking now is not the same as the one before it. Each breath is a signal. Renewal is always available. And with each exhale, you send a message to the heart. It is okay to rest now. It is okay to let today close. One of the most compassionate things you can do for yourself is declare the day finished, not because it was perfect, but because it was enough, because trying to relive it won't change it, because the version of you that lived it is already dissolving into memory. That's not loss, that's freedom. Visualize it like this. Each moment is a footprint in the sand. The tide of sleep washes over it, and in the morning you walk again with new steps. But tonight, the footprints don't need to be preserved. They were real, they mattered, and now they can be softened. The act of releasing regret does not mean you ignore accountability. It means you do not carry the past as your identity. You carry it as a teacher, one that does not shout, one that does not demand, one that whispers gently, you are still growing. When emotions rise as you try to release the day, let them speak, let them move, then let them go. You don't need to keep explaining the moment to yourself. The mind will want to dissect. That's habit, not healing. Instead, try this. Speak to yourself as if you were someone you love. If they came to you with the same regret, how would you respond? Would you scold? Or would you say, it's okay to feel this, it's okay to grow from this, and it's okay to rest now? Offer that same care inward. Say the words you wish someone had said to you. Say, I forgive the me who didn't know better. I release the version of myself who acted out of fear. I welcome rest, not as avoidance, but as healing. These phrases are not for performance. They are not about pretending the pain isn't there. They are invitations to feel it, bless it, and let it return to the past where it belongs. You can place each regret on a breath. Let it rise in awareness. Let it be seen. Then exhale it. Let it move. Away like mist. Don't rush the process. Don't cling to it either. Just stay present with it. Let the breath be the bridge between the pain of the past and the peace of the present. The body follows where the mind leads. When the mind releases regret, the body begins to rest. The chest loosens, the stomach softens. Sleep becomes easier, not because the day was perfect, but because the burden of perfection is no longer being carried. There is beauty in unfinishedness, in not having all the answers, in being a work in progress that is still allowed to rest. You don't need to wait until you've fixed everything to feel peace. You just need to stop, arguing with the past long enough to hear the quiet voice of truth, you are still allowed to be gentle with yourself. This truth changes the way you view your nights. No longer just an ending, but a return to the sate's simple fact that you are here, you are aware, you are learning, and you are free to let the day end. No matter how today went, it does not own you. No matter what was said, it does not define you. You do not owe the past your sleep. You do not need to repay the day with your rest. Tonight, you give yourself back the right to pause, to close your eyes without guilt, to enter sleep without punishment, to embrace the soft reset that each breath offers, because tomorrow will come, and with it, new choices, new chances, new clarity. But tonight, all that matters is this: the moment is enough, you are enough, and the past cannot follow you unless you carry it. So you place it down, gently, not out of bitterness, but out of love. Love for the version of you that tried. Love for the part of you that wants to rest. Love for the peace that waits just beyond the noise. Let today be complete. Let the mind be quiet. Let the breath carry you into a place where time slows, and regret fades, and healing begins without effort. You are not your mistakes. You are the one who sees them. You are the one who grows. And now you are the one who rests. Not because it's perfect, but because it is time, because you are ready, because nothing more is needed tonight. The day is done, the weight is set down, and the next breath is yours. Clean, quiet, free. Let it guide you now. Let it lead you home. When the day is finally released and you stop dragging the weight of what already happened, there's an unexpected stillness that shows up. But for many, even in that stillness, a deeper layer begins to stir. Not regret this time, but something else. A dull hum that doesn't leave easily. The kind of restlessness that doesn't 39. It have a name. It isn't one thought or one emotion. It's everything all at once. A quiet sense of being consumed by too much. That is the shape of overwhelm. And if you're not careful, it slips quietly into your nights. The body may be tired, the breath may be slow, but somewhere in the background, the overwhelm lingers like a low current. It tells you there, 39, more to worry about. That sleep is just a pause before the read's next round begins. And when this becomes the story your mind believes, rest becomes resistance. You don't feel safe closing your eyes. You don't feel like anything is truly done. And that's when anxiety grows in silence. But there is a way through this kind of overwhelm, and it begins with changing how you see it, not as something that defines you, but as something that passes through you, because nothing that comes from the mind ever stays. It only seems permanent because you've been staring at it too closely. In Buddhist teachings, this movement of constant rising and falling is described through the idea of samsara, not as a place, but as a pattern, a cycle of clinging, craving, aversion, and confusion that repeats again and again. It's not just an idea about life and death. It's something that happens hundreds of times each day. A thought comes. You cling to it. An emotion arises. You push it away. A fear surfaces. You believe it. And so the cycle keeps moving. But what if, in the quiet of your room, in the space between your breaths, you saw that cycle not as a trap, but as something you could slow down, witness, understand, and even soften? Overwhelm is not proof that something is wrong with you. It's a sign that the cycle has been moving too fast, too often, without rest. The mind has been spinning through stories and decisions and emotions with no pause. The nervous system has been on alert, ready for everything, unable to process anything fully. When you begin to recognize this cycle for what it is, you start to gain clarity. You stop trying to solve the entire pattern and instead observe its parts. That observation is what slows it down. Instead of being inside the swirl of overwhelm, you become the one who watches the swirl. You don't stop the thoughts. You notice them. You name the feeling, not as identity, but as a moment. This is tightness. This is urgency. This is pressure. These aren't truths. They are weather. You begin to see the mind like a sky and your experiences like clouds. Some move fast, some linger, some seem stormy, but none of them stay. The more often you watch without reacting, the more space you create. And that space is what lets the anxiety loosen. At night, this practice is especially powerful because the world stops asking for action. The emails are done. The conversations are over. But the mind keeps running out of habit. It keeps scanning, planning, trying to hold everything together. That's samsara in motion. A loop that feeds itself because no one told it to stop. So you become the one who interrupts the pattern, not by yelling at it, not by fighting it, but by slowing down. One breath, one noticing, one step away from believing every thought. You begin to understand that just because a feeling is present doesn't mean it needs to be followed. That just because the cycle exists doesn't mean you have to live inside it. This doesn't mean you escape your life. It means you see it more clearly. You see the stress not as your fault, but as part of a rhythm that has gone unexamined. And when you examine it with kindness, you shift your relationship to it. The overwhelm stops feeling like drowning and starts feeling like waves that rise and fall. You start to understand that the waves have always risen and fallen, but before, you were trying to hold your breath under them. Now, you let them move, you let them pass. This shift doesn't require you to be calm. It requires you to be honest, to acknowledge the cycle when it speeds up, to recognize the signs before the storm grows, and most importantly, to meet those signs with presence, not panic. When you label the feeling, you slow its momentum. When you breathe into the tightness, you stop the spiral. When you soften your body, even as your mind races, you signal safety. These small acts undo the cycle. They don't fix life. They reveal something underneath it. That something is stillness, not because your life is suddenly quiet, but because you're no longer believing that every noise needs your reaction. You allow things to arise without jumping into them. You see the thought and wait. You feel the fear and stay. You hear the urgency and breathe. And in those tiny pauses, samsara loses its grip. This doesn't mean the world changes. It means your relationship to the world begins to change. You're no longer rushing through moments as if they're fires to put out. You move slower, you speak softer, you hold yourself with more care. Because now you know that what looks like pressure is often just the cycle repeating, and cycles only keep moving when you push them. By stepping back, you let the wheel turn without dragging you with it. By resting your awareness on the breath, you create a new rhythm. A rhythm not of reaction, but of understanding. This is not denial. This is wisdom. The wisdom of knowing that you can't end the cycle by force. You end it by presence, by letting it be seen fully and choosing not to add fuel to it. That choice is quiet, invisible to others, but deeply powerful within. Overwhelm begins to lose its intensity. It still visits, but it doesn't stay long. Because now there's space for it to move through. Because now your breath isn't just air, it's awareness. It's permission to rest, even when things feel incomplete. And that's the deepest freedom. Not waiting for everything to be settled before you can feel peace, but learning to feel peace even in the middle of movement, even while life is still unfolding, even while the cycle is still turning. At night, let this be your practice. When the feelings of too muchness begin to rise, don't push them down. Don't try to outthink them. Let them be. Watch them move. Place your attention on what is constant: the breath, the sensation of your body on the bed, the sound of the quiet around you. Each time your mind wants to spin, bring it back, not harshly, gently, like guiding a child back to safety. This is how you teach your system that it doesn't have to rush, that there is another way to meet the night, with softness, with space, with the wisdom that cycles always turn, and you don't have to turn with them. You begin to rest, not because the anxiety is gone, but because it no longer owns you. You feel it come. You feel it go. You remain steady. That steadiness becomes your home. Samsara will always exist. The mind will always move. But suffering is not in the motion, it's in the clinging, in the pushing, in the need for every emotion to mean something. And when you stop assigning meaning to every wave, you begin to float. Let yourself float now. Let the feelings be clouds. Let the thoughts be echoes. Let your presence be wide, enough to hold them and soft enough to release them. You are not the cycle. You are not the pattern. You are the one who sees, who stays, and who rests, even as the world keeps spinning. When the cycle slows and overwhelm no longer pulls you in, something gentle and unexpected begins to appear. Beneath the stillness, there's a soft truth we often forget. Rest is not just for recovery. It is not only a personal act, it is a gift you offer to everyone you meet. When you rest well, you don't just restore yourself. You make space for the people around you to breathe more easily too. This may seem like a quiet concept, almost too simple to matter. But look deeper. Notice how much of the world's tension begins with tiredness. How arguments sharpen when sleep is thin. How compassion fades when the body is exhausted. How kindness disappears when the mind is stretched too far. Fatigue doesn't just wear down the self, it wears down your ability to serve anyone at all. The teachings of the Bodhisattva, the one who chooses to live with open eyes and an open heart for the benefit of others, remind us that compassion is not just action, it is energy, attention, presence, and these cannot be sustained when the foundation beneath them is unstable. When your inner state is worn thin, even the desire to care becomes strained. Not because your heart lacks generosity, but because it lacks the rest it needs to function fully. There is a mistaken belief that rest is selfish, that taking time to reset means you are turning away from the needs of others. But the opposite is true. You can only offer real service when your own center is steady. You can only listen deeply when your nervous system is not in chaos. You can only help someone rise when you are not already sinking. To rest well is to prepare yourself to meet life with clarity, to reduce harm, to stop adding noise. This is not about isolation, it is about intention. Choosing to pause with care, not because you are escaping others, but because you want to return to them more grounded, more awake, more compassionate. A tired body reacts. A rested one responds. A tired mind defends. A rested one listens. A tired heart shuts down. A rested one stays open. These are not abstract ideas. They are what shape your words, your choices, your presence in each conversation. The Bodhisattva's path is built not on heroics, but on steadiness. It is not about giving endlessly until there's nothing left. It's about knowing when to stop, when to breathe, when to return to stillness. So, your offering to the world is not laced with resentment, depletion, or fatigue. You have seen this truth without noticing it. Think of someone whose calm presence changes the room. They don't need to say much. Their energy brings balance. Their attention brings ease. That presence is not created by chance. It is built through rest, through returning to their own center again and again. This kind of rest is not the absence of effort. It is the foundation of right effort. It's the kind of pause that allows you to reflect on what truly matters before you speak or act. It is what lets you choose your words instead of reacting from habit. It's what lets you see another person clearly instead of projecting your stress onto them. When you rest with this kind of awareness, it becomes a practice in compassion, not just for your own benefit, but for those around you who are affected by your energy even more than your actions. People feel your presence before they hear your words. When your presence is calm, your influence is healing. When your presence is chaotic, your actions can still carry that chaos no matter how kind they appear. This is why rest must be seen not as a break from your role in the world, but as part of it, part of your ability to serve, to love, to guide, to lead. Without deep rest, your clarity dims, your patience shrinks. Your ability to see others as they are disappears under the weight of your own unresolved stress. Choosing rest is not a retreat from purpose. It is what keeps your purpose alive. It is also what keeps humility alive. A tired mind becomes self-centered quickly. It views the world as something to fight or conquer. A rested mind becomes spacious. It sees the whole more clearly. It does not rush to prove. It knows when to be silent, when to offer presence instead of answers. In the Bodhisattva's vow, there is a promise to remain with others through their suffering. But that does not mean abandoning your own needs. It means honoring the whole. You are part of that whole. You matter in the same way that those you serve matter. Ignoring your own well-being is not noble. It is unsustainable. Resting well means you are not teaching your body to run from effort. You are teaching it when to pause, so it can meet effort with grace. So you don't overextend, so you don't collapse later. It's the difference between burning out and burning steady. The act of lying down at night becomes more than physical relief. It becomes a ritual of service. You rest, not only so you can feel better. You rest so you don't pass your pain on to others. You rest to remember how it feels to be whole. You rest to remind yourself of what it's like to feel enough without needing to produce or fix or prove. From that wholeness, your compassion becomes authentic. Your help becomes cleaner, not rushed, not pressured, but born from stillness. You are no longer trying to save others to avoid your own discomfort. You are serving them from a place of overflow. It's not about being perfect before you serve. It's about being present. And presence is only possible when your system is grounded. Rest brings you back to the body. It slows the spiral. It opens the space where wisdom lives. Every night, when you choose to let the day fall away, you are also choosing to return to this wisdom. You are choosing to soften the edges that have hardened through stress, to give back to yourself so that tomorrow you are less likely to act from fear, less likely to speak from anxiety, less likely to tighten pain of others with your own. You cannot fix the world overnight, but you can end the day with care. That care ripples. It changes how you wake, how you move, how you respond when someone else is hurting. Compassion is not built on effort alone. It is built on renewal. Even the Buddha rested. Even the Bodhisattva lies down. Not because they give up, but because they know that serving from exhaustion is not service at all. It is survival. You are allowed to rest, not just for yourself, but for the ones you love, for the ones you haven't met yet, for the ones who need your presence tomorrow. Presence shaped by stillness, softened by silence, deepened by rest. So as you lie down now, let the breath remind you, each inhale is your return, each exhale is your offering, not to a task, not to a list, but to the shared space of life you move through with others. This rest is your blanket. It wraps around your nervous system and says, you don't have to hold the world tonight. You are still helping it by helping yourself. You are still giving by pausing the noise. Let this night be a reminder that rest is not in the way of compassion. It is how compassion sustains itself. Let your body be soft. Let your breath be slow. Let your thoughts settle without control. And know that each moment of stillness you enter now is shaping the kindness you'll offer later. This is not withdrawal. It is preparation. It is restoration. It is the kindness that begins before the day does. It is the compassion that covers not only others but yourself. A full circle, a quiet vow, a steady truth. You are allowed to rest, and in doing so, you are still helping more than you know. After offering yourself the kind of rest that nourishes not only your body but the world around you, you begin to sense a quieter form of power. Not one built from doing, but from being. Not one that speaks loudly, but one that pulses from within. It's the kind of strength that doesn't need words to communicate its depth. And from this space, something ancient can awaken, a rhythm that has been passed through centuries, not always spoken aloud, but always felt. There are moments when the mind grows still enough to receive something deeper than thought, not an idea, not a memory, but a vibration, the presence of sound that exists even without voice. That's where mantra begins, in silence, in repetition, in the spaces between what we think and what we feel. The body holds rhythm even when the mind forgets. The heart beats, the breath flows. These are mantras of nature. When you introduce a sacred phrase into this rhythm, you begin to shape your energy. You give the mind something gentle to follow, something that doesn't demand, something that doesn't explain. Just a phrase, repeated softly within, guiding attention back when it wanders. Unlike affirmations, which try to convince the mind of something new, mantras bypass the mental debate. They don't argue, they don't analyze, they echo. And in the stillness of night, that echo becomes a doorway into peace. One of the most known and quietly powerful mantras from the Heart Sutra is Gate Gate Paragate. Para Samgate Bodhisvaha. This is not just a poetic sequence, it is a path, a progression. Gate means gone, gone beyond, gone altogether beyond, awakening, and so it is, not as a demand, but as a recognition. As you repeat it within, you are not trying to make something happen, you are aligning with what already is. Internal chanting is different from thinking. Thinking loops, chanting flows. It follows the breath, the putsaf, beat of your heart, the rhythm of your stillness. You are not trying to reach a goal. You are meeting yourself in the place beyond striving. To begin this practice, let the body settle first. Let the breath find its pace. Then choose one mantra. It doesn't have to be long. It can be just one phrase, one word. The mantra is not special because of its meaning. It's special because of your presence with it, because of the space it creates in your awareness. Repeat it softly inside. No voice, no sound, just the silent pulse of repetition. Not fast, not forced. Let it ride the wave of each exhale. Let it echo gently. When the mind drifts, come back to the phrase, not as correction, but as return. This return is everything. Each time you come back, the mantra deepens. It becomes not just a word, but a rhythm, a home, a place where the thinking mind softens and the nervous system begins to trust stillness again. There is a reason sacred sounds have existed across cultures. Long before written philosophy, there were vibrations, hums, chants, repeated tones. Because the body understands rhythm in a way the intellect does not. The cells respond, the breath aligns, the heart rate slows. Even without speaking, these sounds are alive within. You are not just remembering them, you are becoming them. Each repetition creates stability. It grounds your attention without needing analysis. It gives your mind something steady so it doesn't need to search. This is especially powerful before sleep. At night, the mind often looks for something to hold. When you give it a mantra, it no longer needs to reach into the past or project into tomorrow. It can rest inside something neutral, something gentle, something sacred. There's no wrong way to do this. The only guidance is presence. If you feel distracted, return to the phrase. If you feel sleepy, let the repetition become softer. It doesn't need to be perfect. It only needs to be sincere. If using Sanskrit feels distant, you can choose a mantra that feels close to your heart. Peace, let go, I am. Here, any phrase that carries calm and intention. The effect is not in the meaning alone, it's in the vibration of your awareness, repeating it over and over, until the repetition becomes effortless, until the phrase carries you. Over time, the mantra begins to repeat itself without your doing. It echoes beneath thought, like a quiet hum behind your day. That's not something to chase, that's something to allow, to notice. It's the nervous system remembering the rhythm, returning to it when tension begins to build again. These internal chants are like invisible blankets. They wrap around your thoughts and soften them. They do not erase the thinking mind. They quiet its sharpness. They do not reject the world. They give you a center from which to move through it with grace. You may find that some nights the mantra feels strong, like a steady current. Other nights it may feel faint. That's okay. Let it be what it is. The strength is not in volume, it's in presence. The act of returning, even when the mind wanders, builds a muscle of peace. There is a deep stillness found in silent repetition, a kind of stability that doesn't rely on your environment. You could be in noise or quiet. What matters is your internal alignment, your choice to sit inside the chant, like sitting in a sacred room. That room can go with you anywhere. Even during the day, when overwhelm creeps in, this practice becomes available. You don't need to close your eyes. You don't need a cushion, just a few repetitions inside your awareness. A return to the processing's sound that reminds you that you are not lost. You are not the thought. You are the space that holds it all. Internal mantras are also deeply compassionate. They do not judge. They do not demand perfection. They meet you exactly where you are, whether anxious, tired, peaceful or scattered, the mantra holds. And in that holding, you begin to settle. Think of it like a lighthouse, always blinking, always present. It doesn't need to shine brighter. It only needs to stay. And as you move closer to it, your mind finds its way back. Not rushed, not corrected, just remembered. You are not chanting to impress anything. Not the world, not yourself. You are chanting to remember your own rhythm, the deeper current beneath the surface thoughts, the steady pulse of being that doesn't need proof. That repetition softens inner conflict. It creates cohesion where fragmentation existed. It brings the pieces of the day back together. It lets the heart rest without confusion. It lets the breath slow without fear. This is how mantra becomes medicine, not by changing your outer life, but by creating peace inside the peace life you already have. By showing the mind that it doesn't need to chase meaning in every corner. Sometimes peace is the meaning. Let the mantra follow you now, into your rest, into your dreams, into the places the waking mind cannot reach. Let it carry the softness of your intention and the strength of your awareness. Let it remind you that even in silence there is song. Even without words there is wisdom. This is your soundless chant, your internal prayer, your quiet revolution against noise and strain. Each repetition is a return. Each breath is a blessing. Each moment spent inside the mantra is another step into stillness. You don't need to try harder. You only need to stay. Stay with the rhythm. Stay with the pulse. Stay with the phrase that holds you even when nothing else does. Let the mantra be your resting place tonight. Let it lull the nervous system into peace. Let it remind the mind that it can rest now, that it doesn't need to fix, solve, or plan. That presence is enough. And as you continue to repeat it, not with force, but with softness, you begin to feel what you've always known. That peace does not come from silence alone. It comes from choosing what fills the silence. And you have chosen well. As the mantra continues silently in the background, something begins to shift that can't be measured by thought. The repetition, gentle and subtle, clears a space deeper than calm. It reconnects you to something older than language. You begin to sense it not just in the body, but in the space around it. A presence that doesn't belong to one person alone. A pace that is not created, but remembered. A rhythm that matches something much wider than the mind. When the chant fades, you don't fall into emptiness. You begin to return to something much more vast, something that has always known how to rest. There is a wisdom that lives far beneath ideas, and it is woven into the natural world. The breath of trees, the hush between waves, the stillness of soil. This rhythm is not rushed. It is not interrupted by doubt. It moves slowly, clearly, always adapting, always returning. When you begin to attune to this pace, something inside you begins to heal without needing permission. The dharma, at its core, is not separate from the earth. It is reflected in the way everything changes. Nothing clings, nothing stays frozen. Trees grow and let go. Rivers carve through stone with patience. Seasons rise and pass without resistance. This is the teaching of impermanence, and it is not just a lesson for thought, it is a doorway to rest. You are part of this movement. You are not outside it. Your nervous system does not thrive in constant urgency. It was not designed to exist in a state of tension. It was designed to follow a rhythm, to rise and fall, to engage and release. But modern life doesn't teach this. It replaces rhythm with repetition. Constant input, constant demand. Sleep becomes another task, not a return. To rest like a forest is to remember that your body knows how to slow down, not because you make it, but because you allow it. When you stop interrupting your own natural rhythm, you begin to sense the deeper pattern, the way your breath slows when you feel safe, the way your thoughts pause when your body is warm and still, the way your awareness spreads when you no longer try to control every moment. The forest teaches this without speaking. It does not need to rush into bloom or push its leaves to fall. It moves in time with the cycle. You can too. You are not behind. You are not failing. You are out of sync. And this night is an invitation to return. Let your body rest into the pace of the earth. Let your thoughts align with the way clouds move. Let your emotions come and go like wind in the branches. There is no need to hold them, no need to fix them. Nature does not hold the sky still to prevent storms. It moves with what is. You can rest with what is too. Each part of you reflects this impermanence. Your breath changes without asking. Your heartbeat slows. As you soften, your mind lets go more easily when you stop trying to force it. You do not need a perfect routine. You need to stop resisting the body's wisdom. You need to step into the natural rhythm that has always been waiting. In Dharma practice, the concept of impermanence is not used to dismiss experience. It is used to free it, to stop clinging to what must pass, to stop fearing what will rise. When you apply this to sleep, you let the day end. You let the thoughts quiet. You let rest arrive, not because the world is silent, but because you are no longer fighting the noise. This is not escape. It is alignment. You are not walking away from your life. You are returning to its original rhythm, the rhythm you once knew without being taught, the rhythm that mirrors tides and moon phases and birdsong, the rhythm that understands healing does not happen through pushing, but through patience. When you lie down now, let the weight of your body meet the earth with trust. Let gravity do what it's been doing for centuries, holding, supporting, grounding. You do not need to float, you need to settle. And settling happens when you stop resisting rest. This is the moment when rest becomes more than physical. It becomes relational. You are no longer alone in your exhaustion. You are surrounded by a world that is always resting and waking, always releasing and beginning again. The mountain does not fear erosion. The river does not rush against its path. And you do not need to resist the pull of stillness. When the mind tries to speed up, bring it back to the pace of your breath, to the movement of your chest, to the sounds around you that do not demand response. This is how nature teaches without teaching, by being, by staying, by continuing on in silence. Your awareness is not separate from this. When you stop distracting it, it begins to widen. You begin to feel less like a single mind and more like part of something continuous, something stable, not because it never changes, but because it is always changing. In the forest, even stillness is alive, even quiet holds growth. Roots spread in silence, soil shifts in sleep. You are no different. Your rest tonight is not a pause in your life. It is part of its unfolding. You are not delaying healing. You are entering it. This kind of rest does not have goals. It does not measure success in hours or dreams. It softens what has been overworked. It cools what has been overheated. It returns the nervous system to the place where presence begins. And presence is the only place peace can live. It does not grow in the future. It does not bloom in memory. It exists where your body meets this breath, where your thoughts are no longer chased, where your awareness stops looking and starts seeing. Impermanence shows you that even your worst days pass, even your strongest fears weaken, nothing stays. And when you stop holding on to the feeling, it releases you in return. You do not need to fix your pain to rest. You need to stop believing it is forever. Resting like a forest means accepting that change is not your enemy. It is your relief. It is what keeps exhaustion from becoming permanent. It is what lets today be finished. It is what allows you to close your eyes without needing to know what comes next. And the forest does not panic when it sheds its leaves. It does not resist the dark. It does not fear the cold, because it trusts that what goes returns, that what ends is only a doorway to what will begin. Again, this is how rest deepens. When you stop fearing change, you stop clinging to control. You may not always feel aligned. Some nights may feel heavy, some breaths may feel uneven, but that, too, changes. Nothing in you is stuck. Everything in you is moving gently beneath awareness. You do not need to notice it for it to be real. You do not need to control it to benefit from its rhythm. You are part of the forest even if you live in a city, even if you've forgotten what stillness feels like, even if your body has been stuck in fight or flight for years. Nature never leaves you. Its rhythm still lives in your breath. It waits for your return, not with rules, but with patience. This is your return, not to a place, but to a pace, to a way of resting that does not demand silence, but allows space, that does not require emptiness, but welcomes simplicity, that does not force peace, but invites presence. Sleep does not ask you to be perfect. It asks you to be honest, tired, open, willing. You do not need to do more. You need to let what is already here hold you. Let the ground remind you of stability. Let the rhythm of your breath remind you of movement. Let the stillness remind you that life is never paused, only resting. The forest does not question its worth. It does not rush to prove its place. It simply continues, growing, resting, becoming. Let yourself become. Let tonight be the space where you remember how to trust your own rhythm, how to let your pace slow, how to rest without fear. Let this be your rest now, not stolen, not earned, simply remembered. Let it meet you the way the rest don't. LeeZZ.com. Earth meets everything with patience, with depth, with quiet support. And let each breath be a leaf falling, a sign that nothing needs to stay, and that this moment, just as it is already part of your healing. As your breath slows to match the rhythm of the natural world and your body settles into the silence it had forgotten, something deeper becomes possible. You are no longer just resting, you are becoming aligned with something ancient. The forest taught you to release, the stillness reminded you to trust. And now, in this quiet place where thought begins to dissolve and the day no longer asks anything of you, your inner world opens, not in chaos, but in possibility. This is where sleep meets meaning. This is where the night becomes a doorway. And what lies beyond it isn't escape, it's understanding. The mind, as it falls towards sleep, becomes more fluid, less defended, less attached to the ordinary frames of time and identity. This is not a weakness, it is a gift. Because in this space, new roots can be planted. Ideas can be absorbed not by effort, but by presence. And what better seeds to offer the subconscious than the eightfold path itself, guidance not meant to control, but to illuminate. The eightfold path is not a ladder to climb. It's not a formula to force. It's a way of living, thinking, and resting in alignment. It's not linear. It's circular. It moves gently, like breath. It offers not rules, but reminders. Not pressure, but clarity. Each aspect is a mirror, helping you see yourself with more honesty and more compassion. Tonight, instead of trying to memorize or master it, you allow it to enter you softly. Like a dream you walk through, one step at a time. Right view begins the journey, not as belief, but as clear seeing. The invitation to see the nature of things without distortion. In this dream state, that clarity can take many forms. It might show up as light, as open space, as a moment where everything feels aligned without needing to be explained. Right view is not about having all the answers. It is about recognizing the patterns of craving and aversion, and knowing that peace begins when those patterns are understood. In your dream, this might be a feeling of transparency, a sense that nothing is hiding, and in that openness there is calm. Right intention follows, not as a mental checklist, but as a quiet movement of the heart. In the dream, this could appear as a path unfolding ahead of you, not carved with effort, but revealed with sincerity. Intention is not about goals. It is about direction, kindness over harm, letting go over holding tight, honesty over fear. As you rest deeper, let your heart drift toward this subtle reorientation. You are not forcing yourself into goodness. You are remembering that your natural state is already inclined toward it. When fear is softened, right speech arises next, not as sound, but as integrity. In your inner landscape, words may not be spoken, but the energy behind them can still be felt. Right speech is about the frequency of your truth, not volume, not persuasion, just alignment. Even in dreams, communication can feel different, cleaner, not as performance, but as presence. You may sense that some words vanish before they are formed, because they are no longer needed. Silence, too, becomes sacred. The absence of harmful language is not emptiness, it is clarity made visible. Right action appears not as busyness, but as harmony. In the dream, it might feel like walking without effort, moving without resistance, action that causes no harm, that serves without needing to be seen. In the unconscious world, right action is less about deeds and more about energy, about how you carry yourself through inner space. Do you tread gently, even here? Do your thoughts move with care, even when no one is watching? Let the dream show you what it feels like to live in a body that no longer moves from grasping. Let it teach you how to act from wholeness instead of lack. Right livelihood is often misunderstood as work alone, but it is about more than jobs. It is about the foundation your life rests on, the systems you participate in, the way you support yourself and others. Even in sleep, your subconscious is aware of alignment, of when your inner values match your outer life. The dream may bring symbols of supportive exchange that feels nourishing instead of draining. You may feel what it's like to be sustained by something clean, and from that feeling, a deeper knowing is formed. That your rest, your work, your relationships, they are not separate from your path. Right effort appears not as strain, but as balance. In waking life, effort can feel like pressure. In dreams, it becomes rhythm, the cycle of attention returning, gently, again and again. This isn't about perfection, it's about continuity. The choice to remain present even when it's easier to drift. In the space of the dream, you may find yourself returning to breath, to a sound, to a direction, not with frustration, but with trust. Right effort is the practice of returning again and again without punishing yourself for having wandered. Right mindfulness settles in next. The awareness that sees what is happening without running toward or away. In dreams, this awareness can feel vast, spacious. It holds experience without needing to interfere. You are not being asked to control what arises in the dreamscape. You are being asked to remain with it, to witness, to breathe into what unfolds. Whether joy or fear, light or shadow, mindfulness does not pick and choose. It allows. And in that allowance, peace becomes possible. You begin to rest, not because your thoughts are gone, but because you are no longer resisting them. Finally, right concentration enters like a still lake, not as focus forced through tension, but as attention, sustained by softness. In this state, the mind is not scattered, it is gathered, whole, awake, not to effort, but to presence. In the dream, you may find yourself absorbed in one image, one sound, one breath, not because you tried to hold it, but because everything else gently fell away. This is not narrowness, it is depth, the mind quiet and full, resting in what is, releasing what isn't. As each step of the path arises in your inner world, you are not walking through instruction, you are bathing in frequency. Each aspect of the path is not separate from the others. They inform each other. They support each other. They are reflections of the same truth. Life is not to be escaped, but to be met, fully, kindly, wisely. Let your dream now become a space of integration, where these teachings, instead of being stored in your head, settle into your heart, not through memorization, but through embodiment, not through rules, but through rhythm. Let the eightfold path become a circle you rest within, a mandala that holds you as you sleep. There is no test when you wake, no need to remember every step. The work is already happening in the space beneath thought, in the nervous system that softens, in the breath that deepens, in the heart that opens without demand. This night becomes a form of practice, not because you are doing anything, but because you are allowing it to be done, not from the surface of your mind, but from the center of your being. Each dream that passes now holds more than fragments of memory. It holds wisdom, transmission, echoes of clarity that will shape how you move tomorrow, not with effort, but with ease, with direction that is not fixed, but aligned. Rest now inside the path, not beside it, not chasing it. Let it carry you. Let it settle into your bones. Let it teach you through silence what words never fully could. This is your practice, even in sleep, even in stillness, especially now. As your breath deepens and the teachings of the path dissolve gently into your sleep, there is a stillness that remains, not emptiness, but fullness without noise. After the inner work softens into your dreams, something vast lingers, a quiet presence that holds it all without trying to change a thing, not teaching, not judging, not reacting, just witnessing, calm, constant, patient, and above you, always watching, the moon. The moon does not speak, yet says everything. It does not chase the sun, yet never fails to appear. In the stillness of night, when the noise of the day has softened and your thoughts no longer rush, the moon becomes more than a light. It becomes a companion, a symbol of steady compassion, a mirror that does not distort what it reflects. The moon reminds you how to observe with kindness, not only the world, but yourself. Zen poets have long looked to the moon as a teacher. Its presence is gentle, but never weak. It changes shape, yet never disappears. You may not always see it, but it is always there. Much like awareness. Much like compassion. In the way the moon lights the darkness without effort, it shows us that serenity is not the absence of experience, but the ability to hold experience softly. To meditate with the moon is not to explain it. It is to sit beneath it, to breathe with it, to allow its presence to slow your mind. The moon does not demand attention, it receives it. It does not call for worship. It welcomes stillness. That stillness becomes a doorway. As you lie back in your bed, you become aware that you, too, can witness without interfering. This practice is not about silence in your surroundings. It is about quiet within your awareness. Let the moon in your inner world become a symbol, a guide. When your thoughts begin to stir, let the moon remind you how to stay without clinging, how to soften without fading, how to reflect without attachment. Zen poetry captures the moon not as an object, but as a way of seeing, a way of being. Lines written centuries ago still resonate because they speak through presence, not explanation. A verse about moonlight on water does not describe the moon. It describes the moment of noticing, the space between thought and insight, between observation and acceptance. When you practice this kind of seeing, you stop trying to define every feeling. You stop assigning meaning to every thought. You begin to rest inside your awareness, just as the moon rests in the sky, unshaken, illuminating without force, observing without needing to change anything. This quality of witnessing is not passive. It is powerful in its patience. It transforms not by action, but by presence. The moon changes the tide not through pressure, but through rhythm, through relationship. You too have the ability to influence your inner world, not by controlling it, but by watching it with care. As you move deeper into this meditation, bring your attention to the feeling of being watched, not by judgment, but by compassion. Let the moon in your imagination or through your window be that gaze, one that holds you without opinion, that sees all your parts without turning away. This gaze is not external. It lives within you as well. The part of you that does not panic, that does not rush, that simply sees. Use this image when your mind begins to tighten, when rest feels distant, when your body feels restless. Return to the light of the moon. Steady, clear, not always bright, but always present. It does not need to explain itself to be believed. It simply continues. Let this be your model for compassion. Not dramatic, not loud, just steady. Not the kind that fixes, but the kind that remains. The kind that sees suffering and does not flee. The kind that meets fear with calm, confusion with space, sadness with light, that expects nothing in return. The moon changes phase, but never nature. Your emotions can follow that pattern. You can feel deeply without becoming unstable. You can shift and soften without losing your center. You can reflect what rises without absorbing all of it. In this night sky of the mind, let thoughts be stars appearing, disappearing, always in motion. Let the moon be the awareness that holds them in view, never losing itself in their number. You don't need to understand every star. You only need to keep your gaze soft and steady. Zen masters remind us that the moon's light does not discriminate. It falls equally on mountain and swamp, palace and prison. Compassion too should be offered without calculation. Start with yourself. Offer that same even light to every part of your experience. the parts you're proud of, and the ones you still struggle to accept. Let the moonlight touch them equally. In this meditation, there is no script, just presence, just the quiet decision to stay. Stay with the breath. Stay with the body. Stay with the space that holds all of it. Each time you return to this awareness, you build the capacity to witness yourself with more gentleness. This is not detachment. This is deeper intimacy. When you stop trying to control your experience, you begin to meet it more honestly. When you stop defending yourself against your own emotions, you begin to understand them. The moon does not flinch at shadow. It knows shadow is part of the light. Let this teaching settle into your breath. Let it shape the way you hold yourself tonight. When discomfort rises, do not push it away. Shine your attention on it, as the moon would. When peace visits, do not grasp it. Let it pass gently, like a cloud across the sky. You are not trying to create anything in this meditation. You are letting what is already present become clear. The moon does not create the night. It simply reminds you how to see within it. When fear whispers, let the moon remind you that even darkness is temporary. When longing stirs, let the moon remind you that nothing is truly missing. When rest feels far, let the moon remind you that stillness does not need to be earned. You are not separate from this wisdom. You carry it. The same cycles that move the moon move within your body. The same stillness that hangs in the sky exists behind your thoughts. The same light that illuminates oceans also touches your skin. As you continue to breathe, let your awareness stretch, not outward, but inward. Let the boundaries soften. Let the breath widen. Let the thoughts drift. Let the presence remain. This meditation does not end. It deepens. The moon will not stop shining just because you fall asleep. Your awareness will not stop witnessing just because your body becomes still. The compassion you offer now will continue to ripple through your dreams, through your nervous system, through your sleep. Let the moon be your reminder tonight. That softness is power. That observation is a form of love. That rest does not need to be silent to be sacred, and that you, just as you are, can be seen without being judged. Breathe now into that truth. Stay with it. Let it guide you. Let the light hold what your thoughts cannot carry. Let the sky absorb what your heart cannot name. Let this moment be enough. You are resting beneath a gaze that never leaves. You are held by something that asks for nothing. And, in that holding, you are free. The moon is mindful. And now, so are you. As the soft light of the moon fades deeper into your awareness, and the warmth of its witnessing begins to settle in your body, something quieter begins to reveal itself. Not another image, not another sound. Something even more subtle, a presence that lives not in the thought itself, but in what comes before and after. You are no longer only noticing what the mind creates, you're beginning to notice what exists when it doesn't, the space that thoughts rise from and the space they return to. This space is not nothing, it is the ground of everything, and learning to rest in it may be the most profound kind of stillness you will ever know. There is a teaching called Shunyata, often translated as emptiness, but misunderstood as absence. It is not a void to fear. It is the freedom that arises when clinging stops, when identity softens, when layers of concept fall away, and what remains is not blankness, but clarity without form. Awareness without edges, stillness that doesn't belong to anyone and isn't dependent on conditions. Shunyata is not something far away. It's here already, underneath each thought, between each sensation, inside every pause you've ever taken without knowing why. You've already tasted this, in those moments when you stare into space and forget what you were thinking, in the seconds after a deep sigh, in the space between one breath and the next. These are glimpses of what is always available. You don't need to force them, you need only stop filling them. When the mind is no longer busy assigning meaning to every experience, the background becomes visible. And what you find there is not emptiness in the way the world defines it. It's fullness that isn't cluttered. It's presence without pressure. As you lie down now, let yourself begin to feel into these spaces, not by seeking them, but by noticing where effort disappears. The breath has a natural pause after the exhale. Rest in that pause. Let it stretch slightly. Don't reach for the next inhale. Let it come on its own. This is where the doorway opens, not in movement, but in the gentle stopping of movement. Thoughts will still appear. That's not a problem. You're not trying to erase them. You are only watching where they come from and where they go. You begin to sense the quiet that surrounds each one, the silence behind the words, the openness beneath the emotion. And once you touch that openness, even for a moment, it becomes easier to rest, not because you finished thinking, but because you stopped clinging to what arises. The space between thoughts is not small. It only feels small when we're too busy to notice it. But as the mind slows, that space widens. And in that widening, there is room for breath, for body, for peace. You begin to sense that there is nothing to solve right now, nothing to fix, because everything you were tangled in was held by thought. And now you are watching thought, instead of being caught inside it. Shunyata is not something you reach. It is what remains when grasping falls away. You cannot hold it. You cannot describe it fully. You can only enter it, like slipping into a quiet room that was always part of your house, but had no door until you stopped searching. Let your awareness rest here now, not on any one object, not on any one sound, but on the gap itself, the gap that appears when a thought ends, and before the next begins. You might miss it at first. That's okay. Every time you slow down, it becomes easier to feel. Every time you soften your attention, the civil.l. edges of thought dissolve a little more. This space is not absence of you. It is the freedom from the noise that pretends to be you. It is what holds everything, yet clings to nothing. It is not limited by language. It is not disturbed by emotion. It is what allows both to arise and pass without damage. Some people fear this emptiness at first. They think it means losing themselves. But you are not being lost. You are being revealed. Without the constant stream of commentary, you become more intimate with what's always been here. A kind of quiet presence that does not need identity to feel whole. In deep meditation, this experience deepens, but even in the gentle moments before sleep, it is available, right now, without preparation, just by letting go of trying to name what's happening and allowing it to happen without you needing to add anything. As the mind lets go of its need to narrate, the awareness that remains begins to shine, not as something dramatic, but as something deeply trustworthy, the kind of trust that doesn't rely on proof, the kind that just knows. You start to feel safe in the silence, held by something that does not change when your mood does, supported by something that does not vanish when your thoughts shift. This support is not found in objects. It is found in space, the space that allows thought to move, the space that allows emotion to rise, the space that holds you now as you begin to drift. There is no need to tighten around this experience, no need to grasp it. That would only cover it again with thought. Let it remain uncovered. Let it breathe. As sleep approaches, let yourself rest, not just in comfort, but in this deep openness. If a thought appears, see it rise like mist. Watch it pass. Don't follow it. Let it fade into the space from which it came. This space has no edges. It does not shrink when the mind is busy. It does not expand when the mind is quiet. It is always the same, and always enough. You can learn to rest here without needing to understand everything. This is not about clarity in the intellectual sense. It is about clarity that comes from not adding anything extra. You are not solving your life right now. You are letting go of the illusion that it needs to be solved all at once. You may feel moments of drifting. That is part of the process. Awareness does not need to be sharp to be present. Let it be soft. Let it float. Let it rest in the open space where thought does not press for attention. In this state, dreams may come differently, not chaotic, but spacious, not filled with noise, but shaped by clarity. When the mind has rested in emptiness, what it creates next is often more refined, less reactive, more in tune with truth. Even your breath may begin to feel different now, not just as a function, but as a flow, a reminder that movement and stillness are not opposites. They are part of the same unfolding, like waves rising and falling in an ocean that never resists its own depth. Let the space between thoughts cradle you now. Let it become the bed you rest in, the ground beneath your awareness. Let your body feel its support. Let your nervous system take its cue. Nothing here needs to be controlled. If you find your mind trying to grab hold of something, idea, a sensation, a memory, notice it gently. Then return to the gap, the pause, the stillness between. This return is the practice, the path back home, to a self not made of words or plans, but of presence. You are not trying to achieve a state. You are remembering one that has always existed, just beneath the surface. It is not fragile. It does not need guarding. It only needs space. The concept of emptiness can feel distant when explained, but when felt, it becomes the most intimate experience there is, the feeling of being untouched by your own thoughts, the realization that nothing has to be added to this moment to make it worthy. Let sleep meet you here, not with effort, but through surrender. Let it come naturally as another wave, rising from the same space you've been resting in. Let it carry you into the night without resistance. The space between thoughts is not a gap to be feared. It is your refuge, your return, your quiet home in the storm of noise. And tonight, you are here not chasing, not controlling, not clinging, just resting. In the space that has always been yours, in the calm that does not need to be created, in the stillness that was waiting for your attention. And now that you've remembered it, let it hold you completely. Let it carry you gently. Let it bring you to sleep not as escape, but as deep reunion with peace that needs no name. As the quiet space between thoughts grows wider and your awareness begins to rest in what cannot be held or named, something softer starts to surface. Not another insight, not another state to enter, just a deep, undeniable sensation that has been there all along, waiting to be heard. Tiredness, not as a problem to be solved or a weakness to be covered, but as a voice, a signal, a messenger, the part of you that doesn't need more clarity, more light, or even more silence. The part of you that simply asks to stop, Tiredness is not just the end of energy. It is a doorway into a different kind of wisdom, a kind of knowing that doesn't come from books or lessons or techniques. It comes from reaching the limit of doing and discovering that there's still something holding you, that even when you can't keep going, life doesn't abandon you. The ground remains, the breath continues, and in that moment of surrender, when you finally let yourself be tired, you begin to learn what no amount of strength could teach. We are trained to ignore exhaustion, to push through, to pretend it's not there. Even in rest, the habit of effort lingers. You might lie down, but your mind continues to evaluate, to plan, to reflect. You don't truly stop. You just pause the outer movement while keeping the inner one alive. But the body knows. And tiredness doesn't lie. It shows up when enough has been enough. It speaks for the parts of you that no longer want to perform. When you let tiredness be your teacher, you step into a new relationship with yourself, one based not on achievement, but on honesty, on listening instead of managing, on pausing, not because it's strategic, but because it's true. Spiritual humility begins here not with understanding the mysteries of the universe, but with acknowledging that you are not a machine, that your limits are sacred, that stopping is not failure, it's alignment. This moment right now, as you prepare for sleep, may be the most honest moment of your day. Not because you have all the answers, but because your body is no longer pretending. The effort has faded. The masks have dropped. And what remains is the raw reality of what you're carrying. Fatigue in the rolpas, bones, slowness in the breath, a weight that words cannot carry. Instead of resisting this, what if you allowed it, not to win, but to guide? Let tiredness lead you not toward collapse, but toward release. Let it show you what it feels like to truly stop, not in frustration, not in resignation, but in reverence. The kind of stopping that says, I do not have to earn the right to rest. I do not have to prove my worth before I lie down. I am allowed to meet my limits with kindness. Fatigue is honest. It does not hide. It does not explain. It simply says, enough. And if you listen, you may notice that behind the exhaustion is something else: silence, a gentleness, a presence that is always waiting but cannot be felt when you're rushing. Letting yourself feel tired means releasing the need to perform, even in healing. You stop chasing experiences. You stop trying to reach a particular state. You let the moment be what it is. You let the padodas, weight of the day, sink deeper into the ground. You let your breath fall without lifting it back up too quickly. In this space, non-doing is not laziness. It is wisdom. It is the recognition that healing does not always come from activity, that understanding does not always come from thinking, that peace does not always come from practice. Sometimes it comes from simply being still long enough to notice that you are already being held. This is the depth of surrender, not giving up, but laying down the tools you've been using to stay ahead of pain, the tools of control, of planning, of self-improvement. You place them gently aside, not because they're wrong, but because they're heavy, and you don't need them now, not here, not in this moment of quiet honesty. There is nothing more humbling than being fully in your body when it is tired, when it does not respond to demands, when it does not rise to meet your ideals. This is where spiritual practice meets the ground, where the theory of compassion becomes real. You learn how to be kind to yourself, not by thinking kind thoughts, but by choosing not to push, by choosing stillness over striving. The ego will often resist this. It will whisper that stopping means giving up, that surrender means weakness. But those are stories born of disconnection. When you stop, and truly stop, what you feel is not failure. It is relief, a deep, quiet relief that you no longer have to hold yourself up, that gravity can be trusted, that rest is not a reward, it is a return. The more you allow tiredness to guide you, the more you begin to notice how much effort you carry without realizing it. The effort of being liked, the effort of being right, the effort of staying strong. Exhaustion reveals what you, 39, been hiding, even from yourself. But it also offers a gift, the chance to release all of it at once, not by fixing, not by working through it, just by letting it drop. This is not a one-time lesson. It is a rhythm, a cycle. You learn to stop again and again, to soften again and again, to return to humility again and again. Each night becomes another invitation. Each moment of fatigue becomes another doorway. And over time, this changes the way you move through the world. You begin to speak slower, to listen deeper, to respond with less noise. You stop reaching for what you don't truly need. You stop proving what no longer matters. And in that space, peace grows. Tiredness, when met with respect, becomes a teacher of gentleness. It teaches you how to hold yourself without force, how to meet pain without panic, how to return to stillness without needing permission. There is something profoundly spiritual about being still when every habit in you wants to keep going. About closing your eyes when the world tells you to stay alert. About saying, I will rest now, because my body asks for it, and my heart needs it, and my spirit has waited long enough. Let yourself rest fully tonight, not as an interruption, but as completion. The completion of trying to be more. The completion of trying to know more. The completion of trying to hold what was never yours to carry. Let the bed receive your weight. Let the breath move on its own. Let every part of you that is tired come to the surface, and instead of resisting it, offer it space. This is the sacredness of surrender, not in grand gestures, but in the quiet act of doing nothing, in trusting that presence alone is enough, that the heart heals best not through effort, but through release. Let tonight be your practice in spiritual humility, not through discipline, but through honesty. Let tiredness speak. Let it teach. Let it lead you not into darkness, but into rest that holds more wisdom than any book or meditation or mantra. You do not need to rise again yet. You do not need to prepare for tomorrow. Right now, you are learning how to be with yourself without demand, and in that space, healing happens on its own. Let the tired parts of you rest. Let the silent parts of you rise. Let all that effort fall away. You are already enough. You have already done enough. Now, let yourself be held by stillness. No more reaching, no more striving, no more pretending to be okay when what you really need is rest. You are here, you are seen, you are safe to let go. And in that letting go, something else awakens. A new way of being, a deeper way of knowing, a quieter kind of strength, the kind that does not push forward but surrenders back. Let tiredness guide you home. Let it show you that peace was never lost. It was only waiting for you to stop, and now you have. And now you are free. After surrendering to your exhaustion with gentleness and allowing tiredness to be your teacher rather than your enemy, something subtle but powerful becomes clear. You were never alone in your rest. Even as your thoughts slowed and your body gave in to stillness, there was something quietly holding you. You weren't collapsing, you were being received. The very moment you stopped pushing, you were met by something deeper, not just gravity or breath, but something more complete. What rises next is not another effort. It is recognition that you are supported not only by your own willingness to let go, but by life itself. There is a quiet truth that rests behind all teachings. The Dharma, when fully lived, does not demand constant effort. It teaches you how to stop, and in stopping, how to be held. This is not philosophical comfort. It is a lived experience, one that becomes most visible when everything else has paused. Sleep, in this way, is not just a bodily function, it becomes a continuation of practice, a place where surrender and support meet. Reframing sleep as Dharma means you are no longer using it only to escape or recover. You are entering it with reverence. You begin to treat it not as a gap between doing, but as part of the path itself, a sacred space where nothing needs to be managed, and yet everything is cared for. This shift does not require a ritual or a specific method. It only asks that you remember one simple thing: your stillness is not a burden to the universe. It is its own form of harmony. Each time you lie down, the earth responds. The surface beneath you does not resist your weight. It receives it fully. That support is not metaphorical. It is real. Your bed, your floor, your cushion, the ground, all of it holds you without hesitation. You do not have to ask for permission. You only have to stop resisting being carried. In the same way that your breath continues without conscious effort, the world continues to support your stillness without needing a reason. You don't need to be useful to be worthy of rest. You don't need to achieve peace to be eligible for care. These ideas come from culture, not from Dharma. The Dharma teaches that every being is already part of the truth, already part of wholeness, and rest is one of the ways that wholeness expresses itself. Letting yourself be cradled by this understanding changes how you enter sleep. You no longer brace for the transition. You soften into it. You stop expecting your body to shut off like a switch. You start trusting that rest unfolds naturally in its own rhythm, just like every other part of nature. You are not broken when sleep takes time. You are not wrong when stillness feels awkward. You are simply in the process of returning. Returning to what? Not just physical quiet, but relational stillness. The experience of knowing you are already in connection with your body, with your breath, with the teachings, with the present moment, with something wider than thought and deeper than identity. The Dharma is not an external concept to apply. It is something you live, even when your eyes are closed, especially when you are no longer performing. In that honesty, you realize that sleep is not separate from your practice. It is one of the purest expressions of it, a moment where the need to grasp, to explain, to accomplish, disappears. And what's left? The simple truth of being, not doing anything, not trying to become anyone, just lying there, breathing, resting, held not only by a surface, but by something unspoken. The Dharma shows you that this stillness is not empty, it is filled with support, not in the form of answers, but in the form of presence. You may begin to notice this even in the smallest details, the way your breath softens on its own, the way your muscles begin to release without you having to direct them, the way silence becomes a comfort instead of a void. These are not random, these are responses to surrender, proof that when You stop pushing. Life adapts to meet you. This isn't something to believe. It's something to feel, in your body, in your breath, in your awareness. And as you relax further into it, you start to sense that the same principles that guide your mindfulness during the day also guide you at night. Attention becomes less about focus and more about trust. Awareness becomes less about control and more about openness. Sleep becomes less about unconsciousness and more about union. Union with what? With everything that has been holding you all along, with the dharma that does not abandon you when you are tired, with the reality that does not require effort to be kind, with the breath that keeps returning, not because you earned it, but because you are still here. You don't have to earn rest. That is perhaps one of the most radical teachings of all. You don't have to prove anything to stop. You don't have to be pure, productive, or perfect. You simply have to be willing to stop pretending that support is something outside of you. It is already here. You are already being held. This sense of being held is not the same as comfort in the traditional sense. It does not guarantee ease, but it gives meaning to your stillness. Not as a pause in real life, but as life itself. Sleep becomes a return to your original position, not as the one who moves through the world, but as the one who is carried by it. Even your thoughts begin to change when this shift takes place. They lose their urgency. The inner dialogue quiets, not because you forced it to, but because there is nothing left to prove. You are not trying to explain yourself to yourself anymore. You are simply resting inside what has always been true. That truth is not complicated. It is this: you are allowed to stop, and when you do, nothing falls apart. In fact, things begin to realign. Your breath settles, your nervous system resets, your perception widens. And all of this happens not from effort, but from letting go. There is deep intelligence in rest, not the kind that speaks in ideas, but the kind that communicates through sensation, warmth, stillness, peace, a slowing heart rate, a quiet awareness that nothing more needs to be done right now. You are not failing by resting. You are living the Dharma more fully than many words or actions ever could. This is not retreat. It is embodiment, the practice of resting as you are. The body is not separate from the path. The moment of lying down is not separate from awakening. When you stop making rest conditional on performance, on outcome, on clarity, you discover what unconditional support really feels like. That is Dharma in its most direct form. The silent truth that existence does not punish you for being tired. It welcomes your return, not for what you can give, but simply because you are a part of it. As your body continues to soften and your breath begins to lengthen, let this recognition move deeper into your awareness. You are not trying to arrive anywhere now. You are simply allowing what's always been here to be seen. Every inhale is proof that something is working in your favor, even when you do nothing. Every exhale is permission to let go of what's been carried for too long. And in that letting go, you begin to receive not just rest, but understanding. A truth too quiet to be heard when everything else was loud. Let your sleep tonight become a way of bowing to this truth, not as ceremony, but as honesty. You are tired. You are still here. You are being held. Let the Dharma cradle you now. Let it remind you that surrender is not the opposite of strength. It is what gives strength its purpose. Let your body be as it is. Let your thoughts pass without gripping. Let your awareness float without direction. There is nowhere to go tonight but inward, not to fix, but to rest, not to escape, but to meet what's already true. You are enough, you are whole, you are supported. Let go of the idea that stillness must be earned. Let go of the belief that effort is always needed. Let go of the thought that the universe forgets you when you rest. You are not forgotten, you are seen, you are surrounded. You are, in this very moment, cradled by the Dharma itself. Let that be your only task now, to feel it, to trust it, to rest in it completely, and in doing so, to remember that even in sleep, your path continues. Quiet, kind, supported, complete. As you surrender to stillness and allow the Dharma to hold you through rest, something begins to stir just beneath the peace, not a disruption, not a failure, something older, something that doesn't vanish. Just because the breath slows, even when the body softens and the nervous system begins to settle, there are often echoes, unspoken fears, unseen memories, flickers of anxiety that appear without reason. This is not wrong, it is part of the path. These are the visitors that show up when everything else quiets down, and they are not here to harm you. They are here to be seen. Night is often when the mind reveals its shadows, not because the darkness creates them, but because it no longer hides them. When you stop running, stop talking, stop distracting, the quiet invites everything forward, old thoughts, deep fears, stories that were never fully resolved. These may come as restlessness, tension, or mental noise. They are not interruptions, they are opportunities. In Buddhist practice, these moments are not signs of weakness. They are seen as invitations for compassion, not abstract compassion, but active, embodied presence. Tonglen, the practice of giving and taking, offers a way to meet these moments directly, not with avoidance, but with breath, not with resistance, but with warmth. Tonglen begins with a simple shift. You allow yourself to breathe in the discomfort instead of pushing it away. You welcome it, not to suffer, but to transform it. You breathe in fear, tension, or sadness, not to hold on to it, but to meet it with awareness. And on the exhale, you send relief. You offer space, calm, or kindness. You are not fixing, you are exchanging. You are turning the moment of fear into a moment of connection. At night, this becomes powerful, because the fears that arise in the dark are rarely logical. They are not always rooted in a clear cause. They may come from places long forgotten. They may not be understood by the thinking mind, but they are felt in the chest, in the stomach, in the racing of thought. Tonglen allows you to meet these feelings without analysis, without story, just presence. When fear arises, instead of tensing around it or trying to suppress it, begin with breath. Breathe into the place where the sensation lives. Allow it. Let it be as strong or as quiet as it wants. You are not trying to shrink it. You are trying to be present with it. As you breathe in, imagine you are drawing that energy into a vast, open space within you, a space big enough to hold it, not to absorb it, but to acknowledge it. And as you exhale, send comfort. Not to escape, but to stay, not to remove, but to respond. This practice may feel unfamiliar at first. Most of us are trained to avoid discomfort, to breathe away from pain. Tonglen reverses that. It teaches you to stay, not out of punishment, out of courage. Because what you breathe in, you are strong enough to meet. And what you breathe out is a gift, not just to yourself, but to all who suffer the same. The fears that come at night are rarely yours alone. They may feel personal, but they arise from collective patterns, loss, grief, loneliness, regret. These are shared human experiences. When you practice Tonglen, you tap into this shared experience. You breathe in not just your own discomfort, but the pain of others who feel the same. And you breathe out not just for your own relief, but for theirs too. This is not idealistic, it is intimate, because the truth is, suffering connects us, and compassion does not begin with the perfect feeling, it begins with willingness. You do not need to feel perfectly loving to begin, you just need to stay, to breathe, to notice, to care enough not to look away. When you apply this at night, the experience of fear transforms. It becomes a visitor you recognize, not an enemy, not a flaw, but a signal, a messenger. It may arrive with pressure in your chest or tightness in your throat. Let it come, let it be named, not to label, but to acknowledge. This is fear, this is anxiety, this is sadness. Then breathe, with intention. Inhale the sensation, exhale relief. What you offer in the exhale does not have to be fixed. It can be space, light, calm, or even just softness. You don't need to push it out. Just send it gently, like a wind that cools, a warmth that spreads. Let the rhythm of breath hold the process. The more you practice, the more natural it becomes. The mind learns that it does not need to panic when fear comes. The body learns that discomfort is not danger, and the heart learns that compassion is not a skill reserved for perfect moment. It is a resource always available, even when you feel least ready. This shifts the entire relationship tonight. Sleep is no longer something you must enter untouched by emotion. It becomes the space where even your most difficult feelings are welcome, where even your shadows are met with care. You may find, over time, that your fears begin to soften, not disappear, but loosen. You are no longer fighting them. You are learning from them, and in learning, you are transforming. Tonglen is not about solving suffering. It is about staying present through it, so that something new can emerge. If memories arise, let them be held in this same way. Breathe them in. Breathe out kindness. If tension builds in your body, offer it space, not to erase it, but to cradle it. You do not need to rush this. You do not need to push yourself toward peace. The practice itself is peace, staying, breathing, giving. Let the monsters come, not because they are welcome forever, but because they only lose their power when they are seen without fear. Most of what haunts us is made stronger by silence and shame. But when we turn toward it with breath and care, it often becomes smaller, not because we fought it, because we stopped running. Your bed becomes the cushion, your breath becomes the mantra, your fear becomes the object of practice. You are no longer a victim of your mind, you are a companion to it, you are the one who stays. Even when staying feels hard, that staying is love, that staying is the practice. And as you continue, the breath itself begins to change. It becomes slower, deeper. Not because fear is gone, but because it is no longer controlling you. You have taken the lead not through force, but through compassion. You have created a new pattern, one where fear does not equal danger, one where pain does not mean exile, one where your darkest feelings are no longer monsters, but guests at the table of awareness. This is not a path of perfection, it is a path of truth, and truth includes every part of you, not just the ones you've learned to show. Tonglen reminds you that your capacity is bigger than you thought, that your heart is strong enough to hold what you've avoided, that your breath is a tool for transformation even when words fail. Let tonight be a practice in allowing. Let each breath carry both pain and peace. Let your fear be seen without shrinking. Let your compassion be given without limit. Let the night no longer be a place of avoidance, but of meeting, of turning inward with courage, of resting in a new kind of safety, the kind you create when you stop running and start breathing. Inhale, you take in what feels heavy. Exhale, you offer what feels healing. And between these two, you remain, awake enough to stay, soft enough to rest, strong enough to love what is hard to love. The monsters don't need to be fought. They need to be welcomed. They need to be breathed into. They need to be seen not as failures, but as visitors. And when you meet them with this kind of awareness, they begin to fade, not because you banished them, because they were transformed in the light of your presence. Let that presence stay with you now. Let the practice continue, not as a task, but as a rhythm. Let your breath be the bridge between fear and love, between pain and rest, between night and morning. And know this, every time you stay with what you once avoided, you are not only healing yourself, you are also helping someone else do the same. You are part of something wider. This is not just your practice. It is part of the shared healing of the world, one breath at a time, one night at a time, one shadow lovingly met in the dark. After greeting your inner fears with compassion and meeting discomfort without retreat, you begin to notice a shift, not a dramatic one, not a breakthrough, just a quiet steadiness, the kind that arrives only after you've stopped running, after the shadows have been seen, after your breath has been used, not to escape but to stay. From that staying, a deeper simplicity begins to emerge, a realization that you do not need more tools, more steps, or more effort to find calm. You need less, much less. And sometimes, less means just one thing, one single breath, fully lived. In a world that constantly demands more, the idea that one breath is enough can sound naive, but the breath dharma points in a different direction. It teaches that presence is not measured by quantity, that transformation does not require complication, that peace does not need to be chased, it needs to be returned to, and the shortest path to that return is breath. One conscious breath can hold more clarity than an entire day of distraction, not because it is powerful on its own, but because you are finally there to feel it, completely, with nothing added, with nothing filtered, just you and the breath, real, honest, whole. When your attention lands fully on a single inhale, the rest of the world softens, not because the problems disappear, but because your grip on them loosens. The breath does not carry your stories. It does not care about your plans. It only asks you to be here. A full conscious breath doesn't begin with the lungs. It begins with the willingness to pause, with the choice to step out of the noise, to stop building narratives, to stop fixing what isn't broken. When you breathe fully with awareness, you give yourself permission to stop everything else. And in that stop, stillness arrives, not as a reward, but as a return. This breath is not a technique. It is not a strategy. It is the most natural thing in the world, remembered. And when it's remembered fully, with no rush and no avoidance, it resets something deep inside. Even if you've been anxious all day, even if you've been chasing thoughts for hours, even if your mind won't stop turning, one full breath, met with total attention, can shift the entire atmosphere of your body. Not by removing your thoughts, but by placing your awareness somewhere else, somewhere steady, somewhere quiet. This is the core of Buddhist minimalism, the understanding that the simplest things, when given full presence, become the most powerful, not because they impress, because they're real. You do not need a perfect setting. You do not need silence in the room. You do not need time, just the next breath, and the choice to meet it without dividing your attention. This breath becomes a sanctuary, a place where nothing else is required. Not insight, not progress, just presence. And in that presence, the nervous system begins to recalibrate. The body starts to rest. The heart slows. The mind softens. There is a reason this has been taught for centuries, not because it is complex, but because it is always available. Right now, this breath. Right now, the inhale. Right now, the exhale. You do not have to earn it, you only have to meet it. Let yourself feel the full arc of this one breath, from the moment air touches your nose, to the rise of your chest, to the pause at the top, to the long, easy release. Don't shorten it. Don't analyze it. Just notice it, stay with it, allow it to be complete, and let that completion be enough. The mind will try to distract you. It will ask what comes next. It will chase meaning. Let it move. Let it drift. You are not following it now. You are following breath. And with that shift, even for a moment, you are no longer lost. In daily life, we are taught to multitask, to divide our awareness between dozens of things. But divided awareness is shallow. Nothing receives the full light of attention. And when that light is scattered, nothing grows deeply. This is why one breath matters, because it is undivided. It is presence poured into a single point. That presence heals in ways effort never can. It does not need proof. It does not need permission. When you are fully with this breath, the fear of the next moment dissolves. The weight of the last moment lifts. You are not in time. You are in experience, immediate, whole. Minimalism in practice is not about doing less for the sake of doing less. It is about finding what actually matters, and what matters most is the breath that brings you home, the inhale that reminds you you're still alive, the exhale that shows you how to let go. This becomes the foundation, a practice that requires nothing but your attention, a reset that asks for no belief. Each time you lose yourself in distraction, you can return. No ceremony needed, just breath, just awareness, just now. In sleep, this simplicity becomes even more important. The mind wants to solve before letting go. It wants to review, to plan, to control. But control doesn't bring rest. Presence does, and presence lives in breath. When sleep feels far, don't fight it, don't chase it. Return to this breath, not the idea of breath, not the concept of mindfulness, just the inhale, just the exhale, just the soft rhythm that needs no thought. Let this single breath be your whole practice. Let it become your teacher, your refuge, your answer to the noise. You do not need to go anywhere else. This is it. This is enough. The depth of the breath mirrors the depth of your surrender. Shallow breath is resistance. Deep breath is allowing. And when you allow, healing happens on its own. Not because you directed it, because you stopped blocking it. Even if your thoughts remain busy, even if emotions continue to rise, stay with this one breath. It is not trying to change anything. It is holding you steady as everything changes on its own. In the morning, this breath will still be here. In traffic, in conversation, in silence. It is your anchor, your home. your reminder that peace is not elsewhere, it is now. And it begins again with the breath you are taking right now. You are not behind, you are not doing it wrong. If you are with this breath, you are in practice. You are awake. You are whole. So let go of the need to fix anything tonight. Let go of the need to impress even yourself. Let go of the habit of more. Let the breath be enough. Not the first breath, not the last breath, just this one. This is the path. This is the rest. This is the moment where everything unnecessary falls away. And what remains is what you've been looking for all along. Stillness, openness, presence, calm. And all of it inside one breath. Yours, here, now, complete. After allowing yourself to return to the calm of one conscious breath, after choosing presence over distraction and simplicity over striving, something soft begins to open. Not another technique, not another step, something older. A quiet awareness that this breath is not yours alone, that even in your stillness you are not separate, that what holds you is not just your attention, but a web of connection, so subtle and so real, it asks for no effort to feel only awareness. This is where the teaching of Interbeing begins. It is not a concept to memorize. It is a direct recognition that you are never alone, that every moment of your breath is part of a larger rhythm, that your peace is never isolated, that even your rest, done quietly in the dark, ripples into something larger than the self. Thich Nhat Hanh calls this interbeing, a word he offered not as a theory, but as a way of seeing. To interbe is to recognize that everything exists in relationship, that you are not just an individual resting on a mattress. You are a continuation of everything that brought you here. The earth, the sky, your ancestors, your friends, the stranger who smiled at you once and changed your day, the tree that gave oxygen to your lungs, the water that touched your skin. Nothing you are exists alone. This awareness does not need to be spoken. It can be felt in the stillness, in the way your breath continues because the air is here, in the way your body softens because the ground holds it, in the way you can feel comfort even in solitude, because connection is not measured by proximity, it is measured by awareness. As you rest now, allow yourself to sense this thread, the one that ties you gently to all beings, not as obligation, but as truth. The soft understanding that your stillness touches others, that your breath is a shared event, that your kindness toward yourself tonight is part of the healing of the whole. You are not a fixed point. You are part of a fabric, a silken web that stretches across time and space, holding all of life. And when you close your eyes tonight, you are not falling into nothing. You are being held by this web. You are relaxing into belonging. To feel into being is to feel that your joy matters beyond you, that your rest feeds more than your own strength, that your softening makes space for others to soften too. The moment you stop resisting your own heart, you make it safer for others to open theirs. The moment you stop rushing, the rhythm of the world slows just a little. That is not fantasy. That is the reality of shared presence. Let yourself rest in this field of connection. Let your heartbeat be part of the symphony. Let your quiet be part of the greater peace. You do not need to see the others. You do not need to name them. You only need to feel the thread that runs through you, the one that has always been there, even when you felt most alone. Thich Nhat Hanh reminds us that a flower cannot exist without the sun, the rain, the soil, the gardener. You are that flower. You are also the sun, the soil, the water, the care. You are made of the conditions that support you. And tonight, you return to those conditions with gratitude. When you rest with this understanding, your body no longer feels isolated. Your heart no longer feels fragile. You begin to sense that even your vulnerability is shared, that others, right now, are feeling what you feel, their fears, their tenderness, their longing to be safe, to be whole. And this shared experience becomes a kind of comfort that no logic can provide. You do not need to reach out, you only need to stay present. The connection is already there. Let it be felt in the breath, in the warmth of the blanket, in the silence that surrounds you like a quiet embrace. You are not apart from life, you are held within it. When you struggle, others feel it too. When you find ease, that ease spreads, not by will, but by presence. This is the quiet power of interbeing, that even without action, you are participating in healing, that even in sleep, your peaceful energy contributes to the stillness of the world. Let yourself feel how deeply you belong, not because you've done enough, but because you are here, because your breath continues, because your heart beats with others. Each inhale you take has passed through trees, through oceans, through lungs, not your own. Each exhale you offer returns to the world, becoming air for someone else. You are already part of the exchange. You are already inside the flow. This truth can become your bed tonight. Let it hold you. Let it replace isolation with connection. Let it turn aloneness into intimacy. You do not need to add anything to experience this. You only need to remember. As you breathe now, visualize the web, not like wires or lines, like energy, soft, strong, invisible, but deeply real. A web that holds not only you, but every person you've ever loved, every person you've never met, every being you will never know. All of it part of one body. Your body, their body. One shared experience, moving in rhythm. And when pain arises, let it be part of this too. You don't need to fix it. You don't need to hide it. Pain, shared, becomes lighter. Not because it disappears, but because it is no longer carried alone. This is the deeper rest, not just stillness in the body, but ease in the spirit. The knowing that you are supported by more than your own effort, that the dharma is not something you carry, but something that carries you, and it does so through the thread of connection that lives in all things. Let this knowing slow your breath. Let it soften the edges of your thoughts. Let it ease the tired parts of you that feel they must hold everything together. You don't have to. You were never meant to. You were meant to rest sometimes. And when you rest, you honor the thread. You allow others to do the same. That is not passive. That is an offering. So tonight, your offering is your stillness, your willingness to be part of the web without trying to control it, your choice to rest fully, knowing that you are already in relationship with everything that matters. You are not separate from peace. You are not outside the circle. You are not a mistake trying to become something better. You are already part of something complete. Let that truth become your lullaby. Let it sing through your breath. Let it echo in your bones. Let it hold you long enough that you begin to trust it, not because you understand it, but because you feel it. And in that feeling, everything begins to change, one breath at a time, one night at a time, one silken thread reminding you that you have always belonged, even here, even now, especially now. After resting in the warmth of connection, after allowing yourself to dissolve into the soft fabric of interbeing, What rises next is not separation, but the realization that what continues to disturb the mind, what still stirs beneath the surface, is not outside of you. It is the wheel itself, the movement of thought, the habits of craving, the subtle tensions that come from wanting something else. Even in stillness, these movements try to pull you back, and this is not failure, it is simply the momentum of samsara. To recognize samsara is not to create fear, it is to begin seeing clearly. Samsara is the cycle of dissatisfaction, the movement that spins every time you crave, resist, or become lost in confusion. It is not a punishment, it is a pattern, one that continues not because of fate, but because of repetition. And the most gentle way to shift this pattern is to slow it, not by force, not by judgment, by watching. The wheel of samsara turns each time the mind chases what it wants or pushes away what it dislikes. Each time it forgets what is present and slips into story. It is the pattern that says something is missing and you must chase it, or something is wrong and you must escape it, or nothing matters and you are lost. These are the three poisons: greed, aversion, and delusion. They are the energy that fuels the cycle, and they are not enemies to be defeated. They are movements to be noticed. As you lie here now, not searching, not solving, you can begin to feel how this wheel still turns. Maybe in subtle anxiety, maybe in restless thought, maybe in the need to find meaning even in this moment of peace. That is the mind trying to restart the cycle. You can choose not to follow it. You can choose to breathe instead. Each breath becomes a space where the wheel slows, where the pull to react fades, where the clarity beneath the craving becomes visible. When you do not act on the first impulse of the mind, you create distance. Not distance from yourself, but distance from habit. This distance is not separation, it is spaciousness. And in that space, you can begin to watch the back movement instead of becoming it. You begin to see how craving arises not because you lack something, but because you forgot to feel what is already here. You see how aversion appears not because the moment is wrong, but because discomfort feels unfamiliar. You see how delusion emerges when the mind moves too fast to notice what is true. To meditate on samsara is to meditate on movement, to bring attention not only to thoughts, but to the direction they pull you. Not to stop thought, but to feel the speed, to sense the weight of the cycle. And with each breath, to choose to slow it, to not grab what arises, to not run from what appears, to not get lost in what fades. The mind may try to argue. It may say, if I stop engaging, I will fall behind. If I stop thinking, I will lose control. But this too is part of the wheel, the need to hold something so tightly that you never allow the spin to stop. And yet, peace does not come from holding, it comes from loosening. Samsara is not a curse. It is a teacher. It shows you where your energy goes. It reveals your attachments. It mirrors back your habits. And when you watch it with gentleness, it begins to lose its urgency. What once seemed like survival begins to feel optional. Breath becomes the center point, the pause in the cycle. When the wheel spins, the breath remains still. When the thoughts chase, the breath stays. This is why returning to breath is not a simple technique. It is the act of stepping outside the pattern. It is choosing not to feed the movement. With each inhalation, you gather presence. With each exhalation, you release resistance. And as you repeat this, the wheel does not stop instantly, but it slows. The mind becomes less reactive. The heart softens. You stop looking for relief somewhere else. Samsara depends on your participation. When you no longer feed it with attention, It fades, not as a battle, but as a natural effect. The more you stay with what is, the less need there is to escape. And, when you no longer escape, you find yourself here, whole, complete, not because the cycle ended, but because you stopped believing you were trapped in it. In this stillness, even discomfort can be part of the practice. You do not need to remove the pain. You only need to stop running from it. When you stay, the wheel slows. When you witness, the pattern weakens. When you breathe, the system calms. You begin to see your patterns clearly. The way you tense at a thought, the way you brace when an emotion stirs, the way the mind imagines futures that do not exist. These are not flaws, they are maps. They show you where your energy moves and where you can choose differently. To slow the wheel is to bring the unconscious into view, to no longer let habit run your night, to see clearly enough that you do not need to react. This clarity is not sharp or cold, it is gentle, like watching a stream flow without needing to follow it. You sit by the stream, you notice the current, you do not resist the water, but you do not jump in. This is the core of the practice, to observe with care, to remain still while the wheel turns, and to notice that over time, without reaction, the wheel turns slower and slower and slower and slower still. Eventually, the energy that was feeding craving begins to shift. It becomes ease. The energy that was fueling aversion becomes compassion. The confusion that sustained delusion becomes understanding. Not because you forced it, because you allowed it. Samsara is only overwhelming when unseen. When seen clearly, it becomes transparent. You notice the thoughts, the pulls, the urges, and you respond with breath, with stillness, with patience. That patience is the path. That stillness is the wisdom. Tonight, let this be your practice. Not to fix anything, not to change what appears, only to watch, to breathe, to rest while the wheel slows. No need to name every thought, no need to resolve every fear. Just notice the pattern, the speed, the reaction, and meet it with presence. Let your breath be the space where samsara unwinds itself, where effort becomes silence, where movement finds its rest. You are not outside of this cycle, but you are also not trapped inside it. You are the witness, the presence, the breath that remains steady no matter how fast the wheel tries to turn. And as you rest here, quietly, with nothing to prove and nothing to chase, the cycle no longer feels like pressure. It feels like a story you are finally willing to put down. Let it go. Let it spin without you. Let your breath lead you back, again and again, until the only movement left is the quiet rhythm of being, the peace of non-reaction, the freedom of stillness within, the spin. And now your breath has softened, your thoughts have slowed, your body has remembered how to blank. Rest. You, 39, V journeyed through sacred stillness, Buddhist wisdom, and the hidden doorways of sleep. From letting go with compassion, to being held by silence, to breathing through shadows with tenderness, you've touched something deeper than sleep. You've remembered that rest is not the absence of effort, but the return to your true rhythm. You've seen that healing does not always arrive with answers, but often with a single breath, met fully, lovingly, and without demand. You've slowed the wheel, you've released regret, you've walked the eightfold path through dreams. You've felt the moon witness you, the forest carry you, the dharma cradle you. You've welcomed your fears. You've opened to interbeing. And in all of this, you, 39, We've discovered that peace doesn't wait on perfect conditions. It begins the moment you say, "This is enough. I can rest now." If this journey brought you comfort, clarity, or even just a moment of stillness, leave a comment below with the words, "Stillness is my strength." Let's fill the space with quiet support for each other. And if you, 39D, like more sacred pauses like this one, subscribe to the channel and tap the bell so you, 39, reminded to return to breath, to stillness, to yourself. Until next time, sleep gently, breathe deeply, and may your rest be the most radical act of love you give yourself.